Chapter 128. Tuobayi revealed a cold smile and said, "Yen Nantian, you are indeed incredible. I never expected you to be able to break my dragonfish transformation. However, it is still too early to say who will win or lose. I am only a substitute for the young lord. The young lord is several times stronger than me." Huh. Once he said this, everyone was shocked. "What? You are only a substitute?" Yang Dingtian immediately exclaimed. This Tuobayi tore off his face and revealed a pale and ordinary face. He was indeed just a substitute. "That's right. I am only the young lord's sword slave. The young lord only sent me to test your strength. Tomorrow, he will personally go up on stage to compete. If he wins, the beauty will belong to him and the pearl will also belong to him." This substitute sneered and said, "Yen Nantian, do you know what level my young lord is at?" "Speak." Yang Dingtian said. "He has already broken through to the great mystic martial master and possesses mystic skills. How are you going to fight?" "Huh." This substitute immediately burst into laughter while vomiting blood. Instantly, Mu Liancheng and Yang Dingtian's expressions changed drastically. That's right. The great mystic martial master was the clearest dividing line for martial artists. It was the symbol of a true expert because the great mystic martial master could learn mystic skills. Mystic skills against martial skills would be an instant kill. Mystic skills and martial skills were as different as heaven and earth. Finally, that substitute looked at Mu Lian's hot and sexy body with greedy eyes and laughed, "Beauty, just wait to be ravaged by my young lord." Finishing his statement, that substitute suddenly smashed his own head. Bang! There was a loud sound as blood spurted out. This substitute smashed his own head into smithereens and died completely. Everyone present was shocked. This substitute didn't die, but he committed suicide in front of everyone. It could be seen how ruthless and decisive the Raging Flames castle was. The gray shadow old man walked to the corpse of this substitute and placed his palm on his chest. He said indifferently, "Don't worry. The young lord will avenge you. He will dismember this Yen Nantian into 10,000 pieces. Rest in peace. PFFF." Immediately after, the gray shadow old man spat out mystic chi. In an instant, the body of the substitute was smashed into pieces. Then, the gray shadow old man stood up and said, "My name is Grey Eagle, a deacon of the Raging Flames castle. Mu Liancheng, tell me honestly. Did you win or lose in our battle just now?" Mu Liancheng went silent for a moment before replying, "I am not your match." The gray shadow old man said, "Between you and Yen Nantian, who is stronger?" Mu Liancheng said, "Yen Nantian isn't my match." Huiying said, "Then I can tell you, I'm not young master's opponent. His profound skill, Wind Shadow Devil's Sword, can kill me." Finally, Huiying looked at Yen Nantian and sneered, "Do you think you're a match for my young master now? Was the beauty more important? Was his life more important? Think about it carefully." After saying that, the gray eagle turned into a shadow and left quickly, disappearing in the blink of an eye. "Mu Liani, wash yourself clean and lie on the bed. Wait for my young master's arrival. Also, prepare the fire immunity chilling pearl as your dowry. Tomorrow, my young master will come to participate in the marriage by martial arts competition. Mu Liancheng, don't even think about escaping. If my young master doesn't see you and your daughter when he comes to the martial arts competition tomorrow, he will slaughter all the innocent citizens in the surrounding 100 miles. Ha ha ha." Finally, Hui Ying's sinister and arrogant laughter echoed in everyone's ears, causing them to tremble in fear. The entire Mu clan docks instantly fell into a deathly silence. Everyone revealed a fearful expression. "Young master, you have to leave immediately. Leave with the fire immunity chilling pearl." Mu Liancheng said. "What about you guys? What about you guys?" Yang Dingtian. "My cultivation might have regressed for the past 10 years, but I will never bring shame to Cloud Heaven City. Even if I have to die, I will drag a few Raging Flames castle down with me." Mu Lianqing said. I will not leave. Yang Dingtian said, Uncle Mu, I don't mind telling you that I really need this fire immunity chilling pearl because I want to go to the Fire Cloud Devil Cave to forge a soul sword. But I will never leave. I will advance and retreat with you guys. No way. Mu Lianqing said resolutely, I am someone who should have died long ago. The city lord saved me, and I am already lucky to have lived for more than 10 years. But young master, you are different. You need to kill Shiminju and take back Cloud Heaven City. Your life is worth thousands of gold, and you cannot die here. Take the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art and the fire immunity chilling pearl and leave immediately. Yang Dingtian instantly fell into silence and shook his head resolutely. Mu Lianqing clenched his teeth and knelt down. Young master, if you don't leave, I will kneel here until I die. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, Uncle Mu, I will not leave. If I were to escape after encountering Emir Tuobayi, how am I going to face Shiminju in the future? How am I going to face Dongfang Bingling? Mu Lianqing said, but he is already a great mystic martial master and is 2 ranks higher than you. He even has mystic skills. His lethality is a qualitative leap compared to martial skills. Yang Dingtian fell into silence. Great mystic martial master. Mystic skills. Wanting to win a battle that was 2 ranks higher than him was completely a myth, not a reality. But perhaps, he could change his way of thinking. That's right. Tuobayi is already a great mystic martial master and has mystic skills. I might not be able to defeat him with brute force, but I might be able to outsmart him. Yang Dingtian said slowly, furthermore, the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art might bring me an unexpected breakthrough. Young master, you are crazy. Tuobayi is 17 ranks higher than you. Crossing 2 ranks to fight, and no one has ever won in the past 1,000 years. No one has even survived. No matter how mystical the pig-slaying sword art is, it will not be able to break through more than 10 ranks a second time. Mu Lianqing exclaimed. Uncle Mu, let me practice the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art first. If I don't have any hope of winning, then I will not participate. How about that? Yang Dingtian said, I said it before. I need to outsmart him, not brute force. No, you have to leave. Mu Lianqing knelt on the ground and said resolutely. Yang Dingtian said with a cold expression, I am the young master. I have the final say. I will never leave. Mu Lianqing let out a mournful laugh and said, Young master, even if the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art gives you a shocking breakthrough. Even if you were to defeat Tuobayi in tomorrow's contest, so what? He will never leave obediently just because he lost. The Raging Flames Castle has the advantage in numbers and experts. They will definitely turn hostile and start a massacre to snatch Lieni and the fire immunity chilling pearl. By then, you will only die in vain. Therefore, we have to find a virtuous and reputable expert to oversee the contest. If Tuobayi loses, the Raging Flames Castle will have to leave obediently. Yang Dingtian asked, Is there such an expert in the vicinity? Mu Lianqing thought for a moment and said, There is, but this person is reticent and never meddles in other people's business. I am not afraid to tell you that when the Raging Flames Castle gave us the ultimatum, I had sought his help and was even willing to offer the fire immunity chilling pearl. I only asked him to protect the lives of my Mu clan docs, but he rejected me. Yang Dingtian was instantly astonished. Mu Lianqing was willing to offer the fire immunity chilling pearl, but the other party wasn't willing to help. This person had too much character. Who is this person? Yang Dingtian asked. Wooden Sword Castle Lord, Li Guinong. Mu Lianqing replied. It's him. Yang Dingtian exclaimed, The Wooden Sword Castle is nearby. It is less than 300 miles away and is the only reputable sect within a few thousand miles. But ever since Li Tianxiao betrayed the clan, the Wooden Sword Castle had completely declined. They have been living in seclusion in the valley and no longer bother about worldly affairs. Mu Lianqing asked, Does young master know him? I met him once in the Yinyang school. Yang Dingtian asked, how is Li Guinong's cultivation? He is a martial ancestor realm expert. Within 1,000 miles, there shouldn't be a match for him. Mu Lianqing replied. Yang Dingtian was instantly astonished. This Li Guinong didn't look astonished and looked like an old farmer from the countryside. He was actually so formidable. Then it's like this. Yang Dingtian said, I will go to the Wooden Sword Castle and invite Li Guinong over to the Mu Clan docks to host tomorrow's contest. I believe that with him around, the Raging Flames Castle wouldn't dare to be impudent. But this person is reclusive and will never agree. Mu Lianqing said. If we don't try, how would we know? It's decided then. Yang Dingtian said, I will use my fastest speed to return and begin cultivating the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art. Yang Dingtian rode on a fast horse and galloped towards the northeast direction. The Wooden Sword Castle was once one of the prominent 3 sects and 9 clans. They were extremely prestigious and powerful. Every generation of the Wooden Sword Castle would have at least 2 master realm experts. But ever since the biggest traitor, Li Tianxiao, appeared 200 years ago, all the experts of the Wooden Sword Castle were killed and the Southwest Alliance army was poisoned to death. From then on, the Wooden Sword Castle had completely declined. The mighty and majestic Metal Sword Castle headquarters that spanned across several miles had turned into a pile of ruins. The Wooden Sword Castle was relocated to a remote valley a few hundred miles away. Yang Dingtian sped with all his might and arrived at the Wooden Sword Valley where the Wooden Sword Castle was located in half an hour later. There was only one path to enter the valley. Halt! The Wooden Sword Castle does not accept guests. Before entering the valley, 2 sword-wielding warriors came forward to block the path. Yang Dingtian saw clearly that these 2 guards didn't have any armor and were wearing coarse clothes. It was obvious that the Wooden Sword Castle was in dire financial straits. Please report to Castle Lord Li that an old friend from the Yinyang school wishes to meet him. Yang Dingtian bowed while on the horse. Yinyang school? The 2 guards were startled. Their expressions became incomparably respectful. It was clear that the Yinyang school's reputation was illustrious. Please wait a moment, esteemed guest. I will go and report this. One of the warriors bowed respectfully and then turned around and ran into the valley. The other warrior came to the side of the stone table and said to Yang Dingtian, esteemed guest, please come and have some tea. Yang Dingtian sat down. The warrior poured a cup of tea for Yang Dingtian and said with an ashamed expression, in the countryside, the tea leaves are coarse. Please forgive us, esteemed guest. That's very good. Thank you, senior brother. Yang Dingtian said. The Wooden Sword Castle warrior's face was filled with admiration. This disciple was indeed different. He was actually so humble. Thus, he sat down and chatted with Yang Dingtian. His expression and words were filled with admiration. It was clear that the Yinyang school's halo was too shocking for them. About 10 minutes later, a group of people quickly ran out from the valley. The leader was Wooden Sword Castle's master, Li Guinong, and his daughter, Shui Hongxiao. Shui Hongxiao was still as wild and beautiful as before. She looked somewhat similar to Mu Lianyi. Senior brother from the upper sect, your presence brings light to our humble castle. Li Guinong did not welcome you from afar. Please forgive me. Li Guinong bowed deeply when he was about 10 meters away from Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Even if he was a disciple of the Yinyang school, his seniority was the lowest. This Li Guinong was actually so respectful and addressed him as senior brother. Castle Master Li, let's talk inside. Yang Dingtian said. Yes, senior brother. Please. Li Guinong replied respectfully. Instead, it was Shui Hongxiao who looked at Yang Dingtian with dissatisfaction and hostility. However, it was unknown why. Perhaps it was because she had been bullied back at the Yinyang sect at the main hall. Li Guinong invited Yang Dingtian to take a seat and ordered Shui Hongxiao to personally serve him tea. Humph. After pouring a cup of tea for Yang Dingtian, Shui Hongxiao could no longer hold it in. She said softly, there's no good person in the Inyang school. As soon as she said this, Li Guinong's expression changed drastically. He shouted, Shui Hongxiao, what nonsense are you talking about? Why aren't you apologizing to senior brother? What's there to apologize for? It's the truth. Shui Hongxiao said, there's no good person in the Inyang school. Especially that Dongfang Bingling. Not only did she break the engagement, she even injured her own fiancé. Brother Yang Dingtian is so nice. Shut up. Li Guinong's body trembled. He pointed at Shui Hongxiao and said, get out. Get out. Then, he walked in front of Yang Dingtian and bowed deeply. My daughter is rude and impetuous. Senior brother, please don't be angry. I, Li Guinong, will always remember the Inyang school's great kindness. If it wasn't for the Inyang school, the wooden sword fort would have been removed from the 27 sects. If senior brother has any orders, the wooden sword fort will definitely do it. Yang Dingtian quickly went forward and helped Li Guinong up. He said softly, Martial Uncle Li, I'm Yang Dingtian. What? Li Guinong's expression changed drastically. He looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. Then, he quickly walked out and closed all the doors and windows. After confirming that there was no one around, he walked out. After confirming that there was no one around, he immediately turned around and said in shock, You're really nephew Yang? How did you appear here? Shui Hongxiao immediately cried out in surprise. She quickly ran over and grabbed Yang Dingtian's hands. You're really big brother Yang Dingtian? It's me. Yang Dingtian took off his mask and revealed his real face. He had many masks, which Shiman Ningning had placed in his interspatial ring in advance. Of course, compared to the illusion demonic beast mask, these masks weren't as realistic. However, if one didn't look very carefully, one wouldn't be able to tell. The illusion demonic beast mask, on the other hand, was completely alive. Ah! Shui Hongxiao still cried out softly. Then, she covered her small mouth with her hand and tried her best to hold back her tears. Her other hand tightly held on to Yang Dingtian. She couldn't say anything for a while. For some reason, they had only met once and exchanged a few words, but at this moment, they seemed to be incomparably close. Seeing his daughter's undisguised affection, Li Guinong immediately said awkwardly, Little girl, go out and guard the door. Don't let anyone come near. I have something to say to your big brother Yang. Okay. Shui Hongxiao said softly. She reluctantly let go of Yang Dingtian's hand and said softly, Big brother Yang, I'll talk to you later. After Shui Hongxiao left, Li Guinong said softly, Nephew, the Northwest Qin clan and Cloud Heaven City are chasing after you. Not long ago, the Northwest Qin clan sent someone to give me an ultimatum. They ordered me to kill you immediately if I find you. Moreover, it seems like they have already sent a group of people into the Southwest continent to kill you. They know that I came to the Southwest continent? Yang Dingtian asked. They seem to have sensed something. Anyway, you have to be careful. Li Guinong said, how about this? You stay in my wooden sword castle and don't go out. You can leave after this wave of danger passes. Thank you, Martial Uncle Li. However, I came here this time because I have another request. Yang Dingtian said. Speak, Li Guinong said. Does Martial Uncle Li know about the Mu clan docks? I am here for them. Yang Dingtian said. For the matter of the Raging Flames castle forcing the Mu clan's young lady to marry? Li Guinong said, Nephew, at this point in time, you still have the mood to care about their matters? This Raging Flames castle is in cahoots with the Northwest Qin clan. You will be in great danger. I have no choice. Yang Dingtian said, because Mu Liancheng is a member of Cloud Heaven City and is the most trusted person of City Lord Shiman. They treat me as their young lord. Li Guinong was instantly astonished. There is such a relationship? Yang Dingtian said, therefore, I cannot sit by and do nothing. I cannot watch as Mu Lianyi falls into the fire pit. I cannot watch as Tuoba snatches the fire immunity chilling pearl. Li Guinong remained silent for a moment before he lifted his head and said, "Say it. What do you need me to do?" Yang Dingtian said, "Even though you have secluded yourself from the world and don't care about the matters of the world, you are still a person of virtue and prestige within 1,000 miles. Tomorrow, Tuoba will personally participate in the spouse finding martial contest. Even if I defeat him, the Raging Flames Castle will turn hostile and start a massacre to snatch the fire immunity chilling pearl and Mulieni. Therefore, I request for you to preside over tomorrow's martial contest. If the Raging Flames Castle loses, they will not be able to touch anything belonging to the Mu clan." "What? You want to have a martial contest with Tuoba? No way." Li Guinong said resolutely, "I know that Tuoba has already broken through to the great mystic martial master and obtained a mystic skill manual. You are an absolute prodigy, but you are not a match for him now. No way, you cannot participate in the martial contest." Yang Dingtian said, "Later on, I will go back and learn the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art. I hope to have a huge breakthrough. Furthermore, if there is hope of winning tomorrow, I will participate in the martial contest. If there is no hope, I will not participate." Li Guinong remained silent for a moment and said, "How about this, I will go with you. But you don't have to participate in tomorrow's martial contest. I will let my eldest disciple, Shimen Bao, participate. He has already broken through to the great mystic martial master and is able to fight with Tuoba." Yang Dingtian thought for a moment and nodded, "All right, I will listen to Martial Uncle Li's arrangement." Li Guinong stood up and said, "Then it is decided. I will immediately go and prepare. We will depart immediately." "Yes, many thanks to Martial Uncle," Yang Dingtian said respectfully. His heart was indeed filled with gratitude. Li Guinong was really unrelated to him, but he was willing to break his seclusion and get involved in this dispute. After Li Guinong left, Shui Hongxiao quietly jumped in. She looked at Yang Dingtian with a rosy face and said gently, "Big brother Yang, are you still going to leave this time?" Before Yang Dingtian replied, Shui Hongxiao lifted her head and said with expectation, "Don't leave, all right? Just stay in the wooden sword castle." Yang Dingtian was startled for a moment and said, "I still have a lot of things to do." "Are you going to defeat Dongfang Bingling and take back the Yinyang School's headmaster position?" Shui Hongxiao said emotionally, "What's so good about that? Isn't it good to live a peaceful life?" Yang Dingtian didn't know how to reply. Shui Hongxiao clenched her teeth and stared at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. "You stay. I will marry you, give birth to your children, and serve you for the rest of my life. Isn't that good?" Chapter 129. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but look at Shui Hongxiao. At this moment, her delicate face was completely red. Although she was extremely shy, she still bravely looked at Yang Dingtian. Her beautiful and wild face was especially charming. After taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian said, "You're the cutest and most beautiful girl I've ever seen. It's a pity that I already have a wife, so I don't have this fortune. Is it Yan Yan Shimen? She's a spoiled brat, so she won't treat you well. You'll be wronged." Shui Hongxiao said, "A girl like me is a good wife. I know how to cook and serve my husband well. I'll live a good life. I believe that you'll be the best wife in the world, but Yan Yan is also a good wife. She's also the best wife in the world. I can't let her down." Yang Dingtian said gently. At this moment, footsteps could be heard from outside. Shui Hongxiao turned around to take a look, then said in a low voice, "I don't care, I just like you. Ever since I came back from Yinyang School and heard about you, I've been worried about you every day. I've been thinking about you every day." After saying that, Shui Hongxiao puckered her red lips and pecked Yang Dingtian on the lips, then quickly ran away. The soft feeling lingered on his lips, but Shui Hongxiao had already run away like a little bird. Yang Dingtian suddenly had mixed feelings. Li Guinong walked in and said to Yang Dingtian, "Everything is ready, let's go." "Yes, uncle, Yang Dingtian replied. Then, he put on the mask and walked outside. Li Guinong suddenly said, "Sigh, that silly girl of mine." Yang Dingtian's face immediately turned red, then he said sincerely, "Shui Hongxiao is really the cutest girl in the world. I'll treat her like my own sister and protect her for the rest of my life." Sigh. Li Guinong sighed again. The three of them rode on 3 horses. Yang Dingtian didn't even eat and directly returned to Mu Clan docks with Li Guinong and Shimen Bao. Shimen Bao was a quiet young man around 25 or 26 years old. He was Li Guinong's most outstanding disciple. 1.5 hours later, the three of them arrived at the Mu Clan docks. The sky was already dark, and Mu Liancheng led the crowd to welcome them at the entrance. Everyone from the Mu Clan thanked Sect Master Li for his great kindness. Before Li Guinong even got off his horse, Mu Liancheng had already led over 100 manor members to bow down. "I don't dare, I don't dare. This is what this Li ought to do. Mu Clan head, please don't stand on ceremony." Li Guinong quickly dismounted and helped Mu Liancheng up. "My humble abode has already prepared a banquet. Sect Master Li, please. Mu family head, please." Yang Dingtian accompanied Li Guinong and Mu Liancheng for a few drinks before leaving the banquet. He was about to enter the second stage of the pig-slaying sword art. Just as Yang Dingtian closed the door, there was a knock on the door. "Hero Yen, do you have time?" It was Mu Lianyi's voice. Mu Liancheng had yet to reveal his identity to her. "What can I do for you, Miss Mu?" Yang Dingtian asked. "I wish to have a few words with Hero Yen." Mu Lianyi replied. Yang Dingtian paused for a moment and didn't know what Mu Lianyi wanted to say. He went up and opened the door. Mu Lianyi walked in and was still wearing her tight-fitting leather attire. "Big brother Yen, can I address you like this?" Mu Lianyi asked. "Sure." Yang Dingtian was a little embarrassed because Mu Lianyi was actually slightly older than him. "I heard from my father that he asked you to leave with the fire immunity chilling pearl, but you weren't willing. You insisted on having a battle with Tuobayi tomorrow?" Mu Lianyi asked. Yang Dingtian nodded. "Why?" Mu Lianyi stared at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes and asked. "Of course, I don't wish for Miss Mu to enter the fire pit." Yang Dingtian replied. "Is that the only reason?" Mu Lianyi asked. Yang Dingtian thought for a moment and said, "Of course, there are other reasons." Mu Lianyi blushed and wanted to say something but stopped. She also had a rare bashful expression. She was a very generous girl, but she actually showed such an expression. "Don't tell me you're here to confess again." Yang Dingtian thought in his heart. He had already rejected Shui Hongxiao, and he really didn't want to provoke any other girl. Finally, Mu Lianyi gathered all her courage and said, "Big brother Yen, I am very grateful that you are willing to die for me. However, I am very sorry. My heart already belongs to someone, and there is no room for another man in my heart. Therefore, I cannot accept your kind intentions. I am very sorry." Yang Dingtian was startled for a moment before he let out a carefree smile. He thought Mu Lianyi was here to confess, but she was actually rejecting him. He let out a long sigh of relief and couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Therefore, Big brother Yen, you better take the fire immunity chilling pearl and leave." Mu Lianyi said, "You don't have to participate in tomorrow's martial contest. He will definitely make it because next year is the last day of our 5-year agreement. He will definitely make it and rescue me from the demon's hands. I believe in him." Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "I will not leave." Mu Lianyi immediately said anxiously, "Big brother Yen, don't force me. I really can't accept you." "No, don't misunderstand." Yang Dingtian said, "I also wanted to tell you that I already have a wife, and I love my wife very much. If that man can make it tomorrow and defeat Tuobayi, then it will be the best situation. I can then stay behind to attend your wedding." "Really?" Mu Lianyi was pleasantly surprised and said, "You really have a wife?" Then why did you participate in the martial contest for marriage? I saw injustice on the road and drew my sword to help. Yang Dingtian said. You are really a good person. Muliani joyfully hugged Yang Dingtian's wrist and shook it. Why don't we become brother and sister? From today onwards, you will be my biological big brother. Yang Dingtian immediately let out a bitter smile. In the blink of an eye, he had been given a good person card. Alright, I am very happy to have such a beautiful sister like you. Yang Dingtian said. Alright, then let us become sworn brothers now. Muliani seemed to be afraid that Yang Dingtian would regret it. She immediately knelt in front of him and said, Muliani, will become sworn brothers and sisters with Yang Dingtian from today onwards. After finishing her statement, Muliani looked at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. She wanted to use the fastest speed to establish their relationship as brother and sister. Yang Dingtian had no choice but to kneel and said, Yang Dingtian, will become sworn brothers and sisters with Muliani from today onwards. From today onwards, we will enjoy blessings and endure hardships together. Your parents will be my parents. Your grudges will be my grudges. Your grudges will be my grudges. Of one heart and one mind, of one gratitude and one hatred. With heaven and earth as witness, with the two suns as witness. In the primal chaos continent, this oath was very solemn. Once sworn brothers and sisters were sworn brothers, they would be closer than real brothers and sisters. They had to follow the oath and there was no falsehood. After reciting the oath, Muliani looked at Yang Dingtian with a slightly more intimate gaze. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but tease, which family is so lucky to be favored by my sister Liani? Which prestigious family's disciple is he from? Which prestigious sect's disciple is he from? Muliani blushed and shook her head, none of them. He is the son of a fisherman's slave. However, he has been different from others since young. He doesn't respect me because of my identity or flatter me because of my beauty. He is very proud. I have always been the one taking the initiative between the two of us. He feels that he is not good enough for me, so he left home 5 years ago and traveled thousands of miles away. He said he was going to fight, and when he was strong enough and distinguished enough, he would come back and marry me. He promised me that he will come back in 5 years at most. Tomorrow is the last day. I believe that he will come back. Yang Dingtian was startled. He looked at Muliani with an additional look of respect. He didn't expect that she, who was so beautiful and had a prominent status in the southwest continent, would fall in love with such a lowly man. I also believe that he will come back. What is his name? Yang Dingtian asked. His name is Wu Xingwen. Muliani replied. Li Guinong had already sent Shimen Bao out, and Shimen Bao had already broken through to the great mystic martial master. If Shimen Bao could defeat Tuoba Yi, it would naturally be the best. Yang Dingtian wouldn't need to go out and fight. After all, this was truly a narrow escape. If it wasn't because of the situation, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be willing to risk his life. But what if Shimen Bao was defeated? How could Yang Dingtian watch as Mu Lianqing's daughter entered the fire pit? How could he watch as the fire immunity chilling pearl landed in the hands of the Northwest Qin clan's lackey? Therefore, Yang Dingtian had to be prepared to fight to the death. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Yang Dingtian opened the scroll for the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art. He hoped that the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art would bring him a huge surprise. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then, a surge of mystic qi drilled into the pig-slaying sword art scroll. Instantly, a thin and bright line appeared on the scroll. It then extended bit by bit, drawing an ancient and mysterious pattern on the scroll. At the same time, the entire scroll was emitting a misty halo. Then, mountains, rivers, oceans, and other magnificent scenes appeared on the scroll and rotated, vaguely resembling the scenery of the chaotic continent. Time elapsed bit by bit, and the golden lines on the scroll got more complicated and denser. Finally, it covered the entire scroll. But everything wasn't over yet. Under the mysterious lines on the first layer, a brand new line appeared. Yang Dingtian obviously didn't know that compared to other manuals, the pig-slaying sword art had the most complicated mystic chi lines in the world. But the second rank of the secret manual actually had 2 layers of mystic chi lines. It immediately made the entire secret manual become 3-dimensional. When all the mystic chi lines on the 2 layers were revealed, the entire secret manual blossomed with an incomparably bright light. Boom! In an instant, these floating golden mystic chi lines drilled into Yang Dingtian's body and into his mystic veins. At the same time, the second rank of the pig-slaying sword art was completely annihilated. Yang Dingtian only felt a white light flash in his mind. It was as if a nuclear bomb had exploded, and he felt as if his soul had scattered. Countless information and energy drilled into his body and into his mystic veins. It was really an endless amount of mystic chi energy. That's right, every secret manual scroll had to be written with an astonishing amount of mystic chi energy. The higher the rank of the secret manual, the more mystic chi it contained. But there had never been a secret manual like the pig-slaying sword art, where the mystic chi energy was so astonishing. It looked like a small ball of light, but it was actually like a vast ocean, endlessly entering his body. Then, Yang Dingtian, who was originally sitting on the ground, slowly floated in the air and was completely wrapped in a ball of light. At this time, Yang Dingtian's spirit seemed to have completely entered another world. The second rank of the pig-slaying sword art, Yin Yang Heaven and Earth Sword. The first move, Burning Heaven Sword. At this time, Yang Dingtian seemed to be completely immersed in the flames of hell. As far as the eye could see, there were endless flames, boundless flames. In the sky, there were red flames. Underground, there were blue flames. In the extreme flames of heaven and earth, Yang Dingtian was in between heaven and earth, and there was only one person and one sword. Such a scene was magnificent, and terrifying. In the Earth era, even in movies, Yang Dingtian had never seen such a shocking scene. At this time, Yang Dingtian looked around, looking for the peerless powerhouse, Shiwu Piaoyan. But as far as his eyes could see, there were raging flames, and there was no trace of Shiwu Piaoyan. Yang Dingtian shouted, "Senior Shiwu, have you found the Naga clan?" Whoosh! Suddenly, the endless flames between heaven and earth turned into a mysterious face. It was the Supreme Shiwu Piaoyan. Note, brothers, please give me a few monthly votes. Yang Dingtian's clothes began to turn into ashes, followed by his hair. Then, his blood began to boil and the sword in his hand turned redder and redder. In the end, it completely turned into molten iron. Yang Dingtian felt his body begin to melt inch by inch. His blood began to evaporate little by little, and his bones were burned to ashes inch by inch. Boom! In the end, Yang Dingtian's body burned fiercely and completely turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian was left with only a ball of light and shadow. That was his soul, still frantically connecting with the first move, Heaven Burning Sword, in the flames. In the end, when the flames between heaven and earth were 3,000 feet away from Yang Dingtian, Yang Dingtian's soul was also burned inch by inch and completely turned into ashes. The practice of the first move, Heaven Burning Sword, ended. After an unknown period of silence, Yang Dingtian's spirit and soul began to gradually recover. The second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, Yin Yang Heaven and Earth Sword, entered the second move, Earth Sealing Sword. Yang Dingtian's body seemed to be in a 10,000-mile glacier. The ground was endless ice, and the sky was crazy snow. At this time, Shiwu Piaoyan did not appear. In the second stage, his heart was filled with darkness, and there was no desire to communicate or talk. The temperature was getting lower and lower. In this world of ice and snow, Yang Dingtian practiced the second sword move, Earth Sealing Sword. The snow was getting heavier and heavier. The temperature was getting lower and lower. The terrifying energy began to freeze everything. Pa! Yang Dingtian's clothes were frozen and shattered. Pa! Yang Dingtian's sword was frozen and shattered. Pa pa pa! Yang Dingtian's blood, Yang Dingtian's bones, and Yang Dingtian's flesh and blood were all frozen. In the end, the heavy snow in the sky was completely frozen and could not fall. The temperature was still dropping, as if there was no absolute zero in the universe at all. It kept dropping crazily. Bang! Yang Dingtian's profound qi and soul were completely frozen and then suddenly shattered. Although the temperature continued to drop, for Yang Dingtian, practicing the sword in this frozen world was completely over. After an unknown period of time, Yang Dingtian's spirit began to recover again. At this time, at the top of a mountain, the wind was blowing. Yang Dingtian began to practice the third move, invisible sword. At the top of the mountain, Yang Dingtian practiced the third move. His speed was getting faster and faster, and the wind in the whole world was getting stronger and stronger. And no matter which direction the wind came from, it was in the opposite direction of Yang Dingtian's practice, forcing Yang Dingtian's speed to become slower and slower, and finally to a standstill. Yang Dingtian crazily used all his strength. But the wind was getting crazier and stronger. Yang Dingtian was still crazily practicing the third move, invisible sword, desperately resisting the strong wind. His clothes were torn, his skin was completely blown, and then his whole body was suddenly blown into the sky. Yang Dingtian was still crazily practicing the third move, but his speed was getting slower and slower, and finally his movements completely stopped. He began to practice the sword in reverse, and all the moves were blown in the opposite direction by the wind. But soon all of this stopped, because the wind tore apart Yang Dingtian's flesh inch by inch, and then his bones. His whole body was blown away. Finally, even his soul was completely blown away. At this time, the huge rocks at the top of the mountain were brittle from the wind, and the huge mountain peak began to collapse. But Yang Dingtian could no longer see the next scene, because he was turned into ashes again. The fourth move, all-conquering sword. This time, Yang Dingtian completely entered the world of metal, the world of gravity. Yang Dingtian's body solidified into metal inch by inch, and the gravity of the earth became stronger and stronger. In the crazy sword dance, Yang Dingtian's body completely solidified, and every inch of his body turned into extremely hard metal. Then, the gravity increased from a few times, to tens of times, to hundreds of times. Finally, at 500 times the gravity, Yang Dingtian's body finally collapsed completely, turning into a pancake. At 800 times the gravity, Yang Dingtian's body was completely smashed. At 1000 times the gravity, Yang Dingtian's soul was also completely devoured. The fifth move, hell-splitting sword. This time, in mid-air, there were mountains and rivers below, and in the sky, there were dark clouds. The dark clouds were getting darker, thicker, and lower. Lightning crazily struck the world, striking Yang Dingtian who was practicing in mid-air. Pa! A thick bolt of lightning struck down a middle-aged man. Pa! The lightning bolt struck down a tall tower. Pa! The lightning bolt was hundreds of miles long and dozens of feet thick. It suddenly split open a stone mountain, and also struck Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian was completely turned into ashes. The fifth move, hell-splitting sword, ended. The second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship only had a total of 5 moves: heaven-burning sword, earth-sealing sword, formless sword, all-conquering sword, and hell-splitting sword. As the name implied, the first move countered fire, the second countered ice, the third countered wind, the fourth countered metal, and the fifth countered electricity. Not only that, the first move focused on powerful energy attacks, the second on long and continuous attacks, and the third on speed, fast as the wind. The fourth move focused on defense and breakthrough, and the fifth move focused on strangeness. In short, there had never been a secret manual as mysterious and powerful as the pig-slaying swordsmanship. The incomparably mysterious moves of the first stage had completely stunned Yang Dingtian. When using the pig-slaying swordsmanship, Yang Dingtian could defeat experts 2 or 3 levels higher than him. And the second stage of the yin-yang heaven and earth sword completely shocked Yang Dingtian. A set of swordsmanship could actually resist the 5 elements. The 5 elements of heaven and earth all countered each other. For example, the metal element was countered by the lightning element. Once all metal element experts encountered a lightning element enemy, even if their mystic chi level was 4 or 5, they might not be a match. Only those who were one level higher than the opponent would have the confidence to win. And the second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship could actually counter the 5 elements experts. This undoubtedly opened a bug for Yang Dingtian. In the future, he could completely counter any expert he faced. And the pig-slaying swordsmanship had a very terrifying characteristic, which was that it could be completely integrated in the end, completely surpassing all moves. As long as it was practiced to the highest level, any move could counter any expert of any element. Of course, this huge bug was not very useful to Yang Dingtian now, because the enemies he faced were still at the yin-yang stage. Before becoming a great mystic martial master, all warriors were unable to learn mystic skills, so their mystic chi was only divided into yin and yang, either ice or fire. And in the northwest continent, it was a world of fire. When a great mystic martial master began to learn mystic skills, the warrior's attributes would change from yin and yang to the 5 elements. At that time, there would not only be ice, fire, wind, metal, and lightning element experts. And compared to the first stage, the second stage of the yin-yang heaven and earth sword had a huge difference. That was, the first stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship had a total of 9 moves. After practicing it tens of thousands of times, Yang Dingtian completely mastered it. Then, after collecting the demon nuclei of the 5 elements to form the yin-yang 5 elements formation, Yang Dingtian's mystic chi instantly broke through to the 19th level. And then, the pig-slaying swordsmanship's mystic chi power completely ended. In other words, it was difficult for his mystic chi to advance by relying on the pig-slaying swordsmanship itself. As for the second stage of the yin-yang heaven and earth sword, each move seemed to be divided into several levels. For example, in the first move, burning the heavens, the heavenly fire and earthly fire were getting closer and closer, but when they were still 300 meters away, Yang Dingtian had already turned into ashes. In the second move, the temperature was still dropping. When the snow started to freeze and could no longer fall, Yang Dingtian had already been completely frozen to death. In the third move, when the mountains and rivers started to crumble from the strong wind, Yang Dingtian's body was completely smashed to pieces. In the fourth move, when the gravity was just 1,000 times, Yang Dingtian's body was completely smashed to pieces. In the fifth move, a lightning bolt that was 50 kilometers long and 30 meters wide split the mountain, and Yang Dingtian was completely turned into ashes. Without a doubt, these 5 states were all at the first stage. There was definitely a second, third, fourth, and fifth stage below them. So now, the suspense was, what kind of breakthrough would Yang Dingtian's mystic chi bring after practicing the first stage of the yin-yang heaven and earth sword? For almost all other secret manuals, only at the first stage would there be a breakthrough in mystic chi. But after the second stage, the breakthrough would be negligible and wouldn't even be half a stage. What about this mystical yin-yang heaven and earth sword? Would there be an exception? For the entire night, Yang Dingtian's room door was tightly shut and didn't open at all. There were all sorts of mystical radiances that were gorgeous and mysterious. However, no one saw this scene because Mu Lianqing had already given the order that no one was allowed to get close to Yang Dingtian's courtyard. The next day, the sun had just risen. Everyone from the Mu clan docks was gathered around the martial stage. There were 2 chairs in the center, and Li Guinong and Mu Lianqing were seated on them. The fit and sexy Mu Lianyi stood behind Mu Lianqing while the silent and majestic Shimen Bao stood behind Li Guinong. The housekeeper walked onto the martial stage and announced loudly, "The last day of the groom-finding martial contest shall begin. The final victor shall become the husband of the Mu clan's young lady, Lianyi. Yesterday's final victor was hero Yen Nantian. Who would like to challenge him?" Below the stage, there was silence. This martial contest was targeted at Tuobayi. If Tuobayi didn't appear, no one would go up the stage. "Light the incense," the housekeeper ordered. Immediately, a giant incense was placed on the table and lit up. This incense was 2 feet long and could burn for 4 hours. At noon, the groom-finding martial contest officially ended. After lighting the incense, everyone held their breaths and waited for Tuobaye's arrival. 1 minute passed. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. Half an hour passed. 1 hour passed. Tuo Yi still didn't appear. Mu Liancheng and Li Guinong looked at each other. Why wasn't he here yet? Of course, they didn't wish for Tuo Yi to come. It would be best if he didn't come. However, Tuo Yi would definitely come. No matter what, he wouldn't give up on the rare treasure like the fire immunity chilling pearl and the hot and fresh beauty Mu Liani. Tuo Yi was a lecherous demon. He would bite a beauty like Mu Liani even if he had to die. 2 hours passed. 3 hours passed. Tuo Yi still didn't appear. The entire martial stage couldn't remain silent anymore as everyone started to discuss. Some said that the Raging Flames Pavilion was afraid of Li Guinong and didn't dare to come. Mu Liancheng's expression was getting increasingly uneasy. Mu Liani's expression was getting increasingly nervous as she constantly looked at the entrance. She wasn't waiting for Tuo Yi to appear but for Wu Xingwen. Wu Xingwen promised her that he would become outstanding within 5 years and marry her. Today was the last day. For the past 5 years, Mu Liani had been yearning for Wu Xingwen every day. She was relying on the faith of this 5-year promise to support her. If Wu Xingwen didn't appear, she would truly be in despair. She would be in even more despair than marrying a beast like Tuo Yi. There was still the last hour, and the sun was already blazing hot. Ha 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 ha, suddenly, there was a burst of laughter from the horizon. It was unknown where it came from, but it seemed to be coming from all directions. Everyone is calling out so loudly. Are you waiting for me to appear? Are you waiting for me to appear with such a mournful expression? Apologies, apologies. I spent a little more time dressing up today. This is my first time meeting my father-in-law, and I have to be grand. This was Tuo Yi's voice, which had a hint of bewitchment. Bang! A snow-white figure suddenly burst out from the lake not far away. His clothes were whiter than snow, and there wasn't even a speck of dust. Then, this figure floated over a few hundred meters and landed on the martial stage as though he was weightless. Tuo Yi had appeared. He was extremely handsome, but it made people shudder with fear. He drew his eyebrows, painted his eyes, and applied powder on his cheeks. His thin lips were painted with bright red rouge, and there was even an earring hanging from his earlobe. This scene immediately reminded people of many legends about him. Every part of his body was emitting an evil aura. Furthermore, he was ruthless and bloodthirsty. Women who fell into his hands would often beg for death. No matter how beautiful a woman was, she wouldn't be able to last more than a month in his hands. Therefore, no one within a 1,000-mile radius was comparable to his evil reputation. Note, requesting for a few monthly votes. Chapter 131. After going up the martial stage, Tuo Yi's bewitching eyes swept across the crowd and finally landed on Mu Liani's delicate body. Mu Liani's delicate body shivered as her beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of fear. This gaze was too piercing as though it was going to skin her alive. This gaze wasn't just evil, it was also bloodthirsty and filled with ruthless bloodlust. It was as though he was going to pounce and bite with his sharp teeth at the next moment. Mu family head, will the final victor of this marriage martial competition be able to marry this delicate daughter of yours? Tuo Yi asked. Mu Liancheng replied with a gloomy expression, of course. Tuo Yi continued asking, then will the treasure pearl be used as a dowry? Mu Liancheng's expression changed as he replied, of course. Tuo Yi laughed and said, all right, then let Castle Lord Li Guinong bear witness. If the final victor is me, and Mu Liani doesn't marry me and the treasure pearl isn't given to me, then I'll slaughter the entire Mu clan. Not even a blade of grass will survive. Immediately, he stared at Li Guinong with his lightning-fast eyes. All right, I will bear witness. Li Guinong said slowly, but you have to swear that if you lose the martial competition, then you will never touch anything of the Mu clan, be it Mu Liani or the Mu clan's treasure pearl. You have to swear on the twin moons and twin suns and the chaos land. Tuo Yi raised his palm and said, the twin moons and twin suns are above and the chaos land is below. If I lose this martial competition, then I will never touch Mu Lianyi or the fire immunity chilling pearl. If I violate the oath, then the entire Raging Flames Castle's Tuoba clan shall be exterminated and their generations shall never be reincarnated. Once this oath was made, everyone's expression changed as this was the most vicious oath. Immediately after, Tuoba said to Mu Lianqing, Mu clan head, it is your turn. Mu Lianqing's expression changed as he gritted his teeth and said, the twin moons and twin suns are above and the chaos land is below. If Tuoba wins this martial competition, I will marry Mu Lianyi to him and give the fire immunity chilling pearl as a dowry. If I violate the oath, then my Mu clan shall be exterminated. This oath was extremely vicious. Tuoba let out an evil laugh and said, then shall we invite Yan Nantian? At this time, Yang Dingtian's courtyard was still closed. Li Guinong said indifferently to Shimin Bao behind him, you go up. Yes. Shimin Bao replied. Then, he squatted down and shot out like a cannonball. He landed on the stage with a loud bang, causing the entire stage to shake. Your opponent is me, Shimin Bao said coldly. Although his figure was not loud, it was extremely penetrating. Tuoba expression changed slightly. When Shimin Bao suddenly leaped onto the martial stage, he could tell that Shimin Bao's aura presence was extremely ferocious and shocking. In terms of pure mystic qi, Shimin Bao might not be weaker than Tuoba. Where is Yan Nantian? Tuoba asked coldly. Defeat me first. Shimin Bao said. Good. I also feel that Yan Nantian is too weak. It would be an unfair victory. It would be better to have an evenly matched opponent. Tuoba sneered. Immediately, the butler stepped forward and said, please sign the life and death agreement. Tuoba and Shimin Bao went forward to sign the life and death agreement. Instantly, everyone's expression turned grave. It was obvious that when facing such a vicious person like Tuoba, they would not rest until one of them was dead. On the martial stage, blades and swords have no eyes. Life and death are up to the heavens. Killing is not a crime. The butler read out the life and death agreement before he struck the golden drum and yelled out, begin. Ja! Shimin Bao burst out with a yell and brandished the giant demon subduing pestle in his hand, smashing it at Tuoba. There was a loud bang, and a bundle of raging flames burst out. This Shimin Bao's attack was extremely ferocious. Furthermore, the wooden sword castle's advantage was the use of swords. Li Guinong also used swords, but no one expected his most outstanding disciple to be using the giant demon subduing pestle. Tuoba swung his sharp sword horizontally. He forcefully blocked the raging flames that burst out from the demon subduing pestle. Bang! There was a loud bang, and Tuoba's body was pushed back dozens of meters. The artifact sword in his hand was instantly burned red. Amazing! Everyone cried out in surprise. Not only were they praising Shimin Bao's prowess, but they were also exclaiming at Tuoba's prowess. Such a treacherous person was actually able to forcefully receive Shimin Bao's ferocious attack. After Shimin Bao's ferocious attack, his figure flashed as he brandished the demon subduing pestle crazily and struck at Tuoba like a torrential storm. Each move was more ferocious and faster than the previous. In an instant, there was only one Shimin Bao on the martial stage, but the demon subduing pestle in his hand seemed to have turned into a few dozen, and even 100. Finally, it was like a golden wall that was crushing at Tuoba. The originally black demon subduing pestle was getting redder and redder, and it was ultimately burned red by the mystic qi. As for Tuoba, he was forced to a corner of the martial stage and was using his agile movement skills to evade. This Shimin Bao's attack was simply too ferocious. It was truly overwhelming, and no one dared to face it head-on. In an instant, Mu Lianqing looked at Li Guinong with eyes filled with admiration. Sect Patriarch Li, in less than 20 years, nephew Shimin will be able to shoulder the heavy responsibility of revitalizing the wooden sword castle. Mu Lianqing said, most importantly, he can actually transform the sword into a pestle. Sect Patriarch Li is truly a peerless genius. Right now, Shimin Bao had the absolute advantage in this battle. The ferocious demon subduing pestle had already forced Tuoba Yi to the smallest corner of the martial stage and had nowhere to retreat to. Toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. Shimin Bao roared as he swept the demon subduing pestle in his hand. Boom! In an instant, the fiery red demon subduing pestle burst out with a giant wall of fire. The wall of fire was a few dozen feet in size and was pressing at Tuoba Yi. Tuoba Yi tapped his feet and flew into the sky. He leaped up for a few dozen meters and evaded the ferocious wall of fire. Stars burst. Shimin Bao shot into the sky like a cannonball while the demon subduing pestle in his hand struck at Tuoba Yi. Pong, 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 countless fiery red light rays were shot out and blasted at Tuoba Yi's entire body. Tuoba Yi's body moved horizontally as he shuttled between the mystic chi killing lights. It was as though he was threading a needle and looked extremely thrilling. Heaven and earth upheaval. Shimin Bao let out a thunderous roar as the demon subduing pestle in his hand shot out a few dozen feet long fiery killing light. It then revolved and swirled crazily. In an instant, the entire martial stage was enveloped by the fiery radiance, which formed a terrifying mystic chi whirlpool that was frenziedly slicing the air. Everyone present held their breaths as they looked at this scene with astonishment. Mu Liancheng couldn't help but exclaim, "Nephew Shimin is truly ferocious. Even an expert who is 3 or 4 grades higher than him would have to evade him." Right now, Tuoba Yi was like a small wooden boat on a stormy sea. He was dancing crazily and might be torn into pieces by this horrifying killing light at any moment. Kill him, kill him. Everyone in the Mu clan docks felt their blood boiling as they cheered loudly. Dismember this lecherous bandit into thousands of pieces. Even Mu Lianyi was looking at this scene with extraordinary splendor. This senior brother Shimin Bao was truly much stronger than Yan Nantian. He was so ferocious that it was truly admirable. You have finished your performance, right? It is my turn now. Suddenly, Tuoba Yi, who was in a perilous situation and was drifting in the stormy sea, let out a sneer. Meteor butterfly sword. A clear roar. Tuoba Yi's figure suddenly turned into a white light and dove into the demon subduing pestle's red killing light whirlpool like a meteor. He merged with his sword and thrust it toward Shimin Bao's head. The speed was extremely fast like lightning as the sharp sword directly pierced into Shimin Bao's head. There was an unforeseen event as everyone exclaimed. Blood Devil Golden Dipper. Shimin Bao let out a roar as a surge of mystic chi mixed with blood mist burst out from his body. His clothes were torn apart while his hair was instantly severed. Fresh blood and mystic chi congealed into a protective barrier which condensed around his body, causing his entire body to be enveloped in a layer of golden blood-red radiance. The Blood Devil Golden Dipper was a powerful protective mystic skill. It turned mystic chi and fresh blood into an energy barrier which allowed one's body to be invulnerable. In an instant, Tuoba Yi's sharp sword couldn't even move an inch as his entire body was suspended in midair. This Blood Devil Golden Dipper was truly powerful and truly invulnerable. After blocking Tuoba Yi's attack, Shimin Bao's hands curled around the demon subduing pestle. Swish! In an instant, the fiery red demon subduing pestle shot towards Tuoba Yi. Ha ha ha! Tuoba Yi laughed heartily as the sharp sword in his hand trembled slightly. In an instant, the sword tip emitted a lump of black radiance. Swish! Immediately after, this black radiance pierced into the Blood Devil Golden Dipper and into Shimin Bao's head. Such a powerful Blood Devil Golden Dipper was actually broken. Shimin Bao was astonished as he clenched his fists and shot out powerful mystic chi, pushing his body back dozens of meters like a cannonball and evading Tuoba Yi's sharp sword. At the same time, the fiery red demon subduing pestle thrust towards Tuoba Yi's body. Tuoba Yi turned his wrist and rolled up his sleeves. In an instant, a mystic chi whirlpool appeared on his arm. This incomparably violent demon subduing pestle was actually sucked into the whirlpool. Such a ferocious demon subduing pestle was actually subdued by Tuoba Yi's sleeve. Li Guinong's expression changed. He didn't expect for Tuoba Ye's wind attribute martial skills to be so skillful. This Tai Chi whirlpool was obviously a small force that easily subdued the powerful demon subduing pestle. Q. Within Tuoba Ye's Tai Chi whirlpool, the demon subduing pestle spun faster and faster. Swish. When it reached its fastest speed, the fiery red demon subduing pestle shot towards the retreating Shimin Bao. Immobilize. Shimin Bao roared and clamped his hands in the air, trying to use his powerful mystic chi to suck in this demon subduing pestle. Torrential demon flower sword. Tuoba Yi yelled out clearly as his figure instantly turned into countless clones. Countless sharp swords and countless radiances. They were like a torrential rain as they shot towards Shimin Bao. Protect. Shimin Bao rapidly spun the demon subduing pestle and blocked Tuoba Ye's countless sword flowers. Pong, 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 countless sword flowers shot onto the demon subduing pestle and emitted blue radiances. It was like a blossoming flower flame that was extremely dazzling. Swish, 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 this Shimin Bao was truly formidable. With the demon subduing pestle in his hand, he was actually able to completely block Tuoba Ye's sword flowers. Dozens of swords. Hundreds of swords. Thousands of swords. They were actually completely blocked. Ha, alright, I shall not play with you anymore. Tuoba Yi suddenly laughed loudly and said, you can die now. Soul-breaking devil sword's first move, soul-bewitching crescent slash. Die. With a ruthless yell, Tuoba Yi bent his body and slashed with the sharp sword in his hand. In an instant, Tuoba Ye's hand shot out a dazzling radiance which condensed into a giant crescent sword light and shot out. Block. Shimin Bao grabbed onto the demon subduing pestle and used all his strength to block. Bang! In an instant, the incomparably tough demon subduing pestle was severed from the middle while the crescent sword light struck Shimin Bao's chest. A bright red crack appeared on Shimin Bao's chest, and then a blood mist violently sprayed out from it. Shimin Bao's muscular body flew out over 100 meters like a straw. In mid-air, a giant crack appeared on his chest while fresh blood gushed out like a spring. Baozi! Li Guinong exclaimed and suddenly soared into the sky. He caught Shimin Bao, who was gushing with fresh blood, and quickly stuffed an elixir into Shimin Bao's mouth and sealed the blood vessels in his chest. Everyone present was silent as they watched this scene with fear. This Tuoba Yi was actually so terrifying. At the start, he seemed to be on the defensive and was frantically dodging, but in fact, he was just taking a stroll. The final mystic skill instantly killed Shimin Bao. Shimin Bao was already so powerful and had already broken through to the great mystic martial master realm. But when facing Tuoba Ye's mystic skill, the soul-breaking devil sword, he was instantly killed in the first move. Who wants to challenge me? Tuoba Yi spoke coldly as he looked at the burning incense. Only 2 inches of incense were left, and there were at most 10 minutes left. Who else wants to challenge me? Tuoba Yi spoke coldly again. No one replied. His earlier sharpness was indeed chilling. Right now, Mu Lianyi's beautiful eyes were staring at the entrance with infatuation. Xingwen, why aren't you here yet? You promised that you would come back and marry me in at most 5 years. Today is already the last day. Have you forgotten? If you are still not here, I am going to die. Time passed minute by minute and the incense stick burned bit by bit. Mu Lianyi's longing lover had yet to arrive, and the end of the martial contest was getting closer. When the incense was 1 inch away, Mu Lianyi was already in despair. Her beautiful face was already devoid of blood. Ha 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 ha. Tuoba Yi laughed arrogantly and said, Mu clan head, you can prepare for the wedding. Today, I am going to consummate my marriage with your daughter. Also, prepare the fire immunity chilling pearl. Everyone in the Mu clan docks had an ashen expression as they could only watch Tuoba Ye's arrogant behavior. Yen Nantian. Where did you go, you cowardly turtle? Do you dare to come out and fight? There is no time left. Tuoba Yi yelled out. Yen Nantian, your woman is going to be mine. Your treasure pearl is going to be mine. Don't worry, I will treat Mulieni well. I will make her beg for death. Once these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed. Yen Nantian, do you dare to come out and fight? Tuobayi continued yelling. Mulieni first took a glance at the entrance and then at Yang Dingtian's courtyard. Note. Chapter 132. Wu Xingwen didn't come, and Yang Dingtian's courtyard door was still shut. Mulieni clenched her teeth and said, I am here to fight with you. Finishing her statement, Mulieni leaped onto the martial stage. Everyone was shocked while Tuobaye's expression changed as he asked, You are here? Why? Am I not allowed? Mulieni spoke coldly, Not only do you have to go through your love rival, but you also have to go through me. Sure. Tuobayi laughed and said, But you are merely a 5-star mystic martial warrior and are far from Shimen Bao. Can you withstand a single move from me? I can't. Mulieni said, But as long as I die, I don't have to marry you, and I don't have to give you the fire immunity chilling pearl. Tuobaye's expression changed, and so did everyone else. My daughter doesn't want it. Muliencheng exclaimed before Tuobayi said, You can take the fire immunity chilling pearl and let my daughter go. How about that? No. Tuobayi spoke coldly, I want the treasure pearl, but I want the woman even more. As long as I fancy a woman, no one can escape. Mulieni sneered and said, You can't have the woman or the treasure pearl. Finishing her statement, she drew her long sword abruptly. Tuobayi spoke coldly, You want to die? It won't be that easy. Even if you die, do you think you will be free? No, no, no. Even if you die, I will let you suffer all kinds of humiliation. Mulieni's delicate body shivered as she revealed an appalled expression. This Tuobayi was actually so perverted and cruel. Then I will let myself die without a complete corpse and shatter all my bones. Mulieni let out a miserable yell before circulating all her mystic chi and rushed at Tuobayi. Xingwen, farewell forever. Mulieni's delicate body pounced at Tuobayi like a moth darting into a flame. At the instant of contact, she would detonate her own chi vessel and shatter all her bones. Even if she had to die, she didn't want herself to suffer any humiliation. Even if she had to die, she wouldn't fall into the hands of this evil thief. No! Muliencheng exclaimed as he suddenly soared into the sky. Bang! There was a loud sound. Yang Dingtian's courtyard suddenly emitted a loud noise. The roof instantly shattered, and a huge hole appeared. Yang Dingtian's body shot out and landed on the martial stage ruthlessly. He landed in between Tuobayi and Mulieni. Tuobayi, your opponent is me. Looking at Tuobayi, Yang Dingtian spoke coldly. Then, he turned to the stunned Mulieni and smiled. You are at the most beautiful moment of your life. How can you bear to let it wither away? Finishing his statement, Yang Dingtian pushed Mulieni out of the contest stage. Tuobayi, your opponent is me. The time hasn't passed yet, right? Tuobayi looked at Yang Dingtian and immediately laughed heartily, You are truly blinded by lust. You don't even want your life for a beauty. Since you are here to die, why should I reject you? Next, I will show everyone the art of killing. Towards the end, Tuobaye's eyes were filled with coldness and cruelty. Muliencheng was about to go crazy as he shouted, Yen Nantian, come down. We admit defeat. Li Guinong also placed Shimen Bao down and yelled, Yen Nantian, you are not his opponent. Come down. Yang Dingtian spoke coldly, Since I am here, I will not be going down. Tuobayi, you cannot bring the beauty away. Neither can you bring the treasure away. Tuobayi brandished his sharp sword and burst out with sinister and horrifying killing aura. He pointed at Yang Dingtian and laughed sternly, I am still lacking a urinal. Your head is not bad. Let me borrow it. The first rank of the pig-slaying sword art and the 5-element yin-yang array allowed Yang Dingtian to break through 19 ranks. What about the second rank? It was almost impossible for any martial techniques in the world to have any breakthroughs when learning the second rank. However, the pig-slaying sword art could because it was unique. After 12 hours of cultivation, the second rank of the yin-yang heaven and earth sword allowed Yang Dingtian to break through to the second rank. Yang Dingtian advanced from a 3-star mystic martial warrior to a 5-star mystic martial warrior. This was a heaven-defying 2 ranks. However, this was far from enough. Shimen Bao was such a powerful 1-star great mystic martial warrior, but he was defeated by Tuobayi. He didn't even have any chance to retaliate and was instantly killed by Tuobayi. A 5-star mystic martial warrior was 16 ranks away from Shimen Bao and even further away from Tuobayi. There was a difference of more than 10 ranks and 2 ranks. In the thousands of years of history, there wasn't a single instance of victory or survival. The only outcome was instant death. That's right, instant death. He couldn't even resist. Therefore, Li Guinong and Mu Lianqing thought that Yang Dingtian was crazy. In order to save Mu Lianyi and the fire immunity chilling pearl, he didn't even want his life. Big brother Yan, come down. We admit defeat. Mu Lianyi yelled at Yang Dingtian. It is too late. Tuobayi spoke coldly, Yan Nantian killed my substitute. He will definitely die, and he will die in the most miserable way. Tuobayi, how about we change the duel method? Yang Dingtian suddenly asked. Neither method will be able to save you. Tuobayi replied. That's right, this duel was even crazier than the duel with Qin Xiaobai. During the duel with Qin Xiaobai, it was only a 1-rank difference. Today, it was a 2-rank difference. During the duel with Qin Xiaobai, Yang Dingtian had to use the sword soul. Today, he didn't have any more sword soul. Everyone held their breaths and waited to see what kind of method Yang Dingtian would use to fight. Yang Dingtian laughed and said, during the duel with senior brother Shimen, you only used the first, second, and third moves of the Soul Break Devil Sword. It is such a pity. That is the true killer move. That's right. The second move is a few times stronger than the first move. The third move is a few times stronger than the second move. Tuobayi spoke coldly, Shimen Bao's level isn't qualified for me to use the second move. Yang Dingtian said, I want to try the last 2 moves of your Soul Break Devil Sword and see how powerful they are. Once this statement was out, everyone exclaimed. Yang Dingtian was crazy. He was definitely crazy. Shimen Bao was so powerful, but he was instantly killed by the first move of Tuobayi's Soul Break Devil Sword. Right now, he actually felt that he didn't die easily enough and wanted to experience the second and third moves of the Soul Break Devil Sword. This was completely crazy. Yan Nantian, you are crazy. Come down now. Mu Lianqing yelled out frantically. It's too late. Tuobayi yelled out and then said to Yang Dingtian, all right, I will let you have a taste. No, the duel is cancelled. Mu Lianqing said and was about to leap onto the dueling stage to bring Yang Dingtian away. Swish 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 swish. Suddenly, over a dozen black figures shot out from the lake and landed around the dueling stage. These people were all enveloped in a black cloak. Every one of them was stronger than the great mystic martial master and was an elder of the Raging Flames Pavilion. Swish! Immediately after, a fiery red arrow shot into the sky. From afar, there was a dense sound of horse hooves. A few hundred black cavalry troops came from all directions and surrounded the entire Mu clan docks tightly. They were ready to charge in at any time. Tuobayi looked at Mu Lianqing and said coldly, if anyone dares to disrupt the duel today, I will exterminate the entire Mu clan docks. Yang Dingtian turned to Mu Lianqing and said, Uncle Mu, let me try. Trust me. No. Mu Lianqing said resolutely. Yang Dingtian had a stern expression as he mouthed, stand down. This is an order. Mu Lianqing suddenly drew his sharp sword and placed it on his neck. His attitude was clear. If Yang Dingtian didn't withdraw from the duel, he would die in front of Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian looked at him and mouthed, Uncle Mu, do you trust City Lord Shimen? Mu Lianqing nodded. Of course, he trusted Shimen Wuya. In his heart, Shimen Wuya was a godlike figure and was omnipotent. Then you should trust me. Yang Dingtian said slowly. Mu Lianqing was startled. Stand down. Yang Dingtian said slowly. Mu Lianqing went silent for a moment before he put down his sharp sword and said resolutely, just remember that when you die, the Mu clan's members will die together. Then, Mu Lianqing left the dueling stage. After Mu Lianqing left, Yang Dingtian looked at Tuoba and said, if I can withstand your remaining 2 mystic skills, what will happen? Haha, dream on. Tuoba laughed and said, the second move will shatter your bones. What if? I am talking about what if. Yang Dingtian laughed. Tuoba laughed and said, if you can withstand my remaining 2 mystic skills and not die, then it will be your win today. How about it? Mu Lianyi will be yours, and the fire immunity chilling pearl will be yours. It's a deal. Yang Dingtian said. It's a deal. Tuoba said, I swear by the twin moons and twin suns in the sky and the primal chaos land. All right. Yang Dingtian said loudly, if I can withstand your 2 mystic skills and not die, then I will win today's duel. Then, let's begin. Begin. Tuoba Ye's first mystic skill instantly killed the 1-star great mystic martial master, Shimen Bao. Yang Dingtian slowly raised his sharp sword and waited to receive Tuoba Ye's second mystic skill. Soul Break Devil Sword's second move, Mountain Splitting Berserk Sword. Die! With a roar, Tuoba Ye's sharp sword was crazily brandished. Countless white light swords shot into the sky and condensed dozens of meters in the air. Finally, it condensed into a giant light sword that was dozens of meters long. It slashed down at Yang Dingtian's head. It was incomparably fast and powerful, and it let out a thunderous sound in the air. Under this giant light sword, Yang Dingtian's body appeared so weak and small. As expected, the first move of the Soul Break Devil Sword looked much more terrifying than the first move. Yin Yang Heaven and Earth Sword's second move, Formless Sword. Instantly, Yang Dingtian's body was like a soft shadow that shuttled through the air. It was incomparably fast and agile. Hoo. That light sword instantly slashed down. However, Yang Dingtian's formless sword seemed to be avoiding the wind as it accurately dodged every inch of the light sword's killing radiance. That's right, the light sword that burst out from the mystic skill was extremely powerful. It was formless and shadowless, and was completely formed by mystic chi. Therefore, it was impossible for every inch of it to be filled with fatal killing radiance. However, the formless sword seemed to be able to sense the terrifying sword radiance's energy in advance and use the fastest speed and the most precise angle to dodge. Therefore, an incomparably stunning scene appeared. Yang Dingtian was like an extremely nimble kite that floated gracefully in the air. It seemed like he was drifting with the waves and also seemed like he was dancing on the tip of a blade. It was as though his body didn't have any bones, and it was as though his body didn't have any weight. This was the pig-slaying sword art. It didn't have any fixed moves. The emphasis was on the spirit and not the form. The emphasis was on the sensing and circulation of the mystic chi and not the moves on the surface. Instantly, everyone was stunned. Mu Lianyi, Mu Lianqing, and Li Guinong were all stunned. To be honest, even though Mu Lianqing had retreated from the martial stage, he didn't feel that Yang Dingtian had any chance of blocking Tuoba Ye's Soul Break Devil Sword. He only had the thought of immediately committing suicide to accompany Yang Dingtian in death. Li Guinong might know that Yang Dingtian's talent was astounding, but he definitely didn't expect Yang Dingtian to be able to resist Tuoba Ye's Soul Break Devil Sword. After all, Yang Dingtian was only a mystic martial warrior. At this moment, Mu Lianyi was truly stunned by Yang Dingtian. Even someone as formidable as Yang Dingtian was instantly killed by Tuoba Ye's mystic skill. However, Yang Dingtian was actually able to remain unscathed under such a lethal killing move. Boom! 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 That wind sword speed was getting faster and eventually slashed at everything in the surroundings. Trees were turned into dust. Giant stone pillars were turned into dust. Brick houses were turned into smithereens. Sparks burst out while dust soared into the sky. The mountain splitter berserk sword had entered the most frenzied and berserk state and possessed terrifying destructive power. Instantly, Yang Dingtian's figure was completely buried by the dust. PFFF. Suddenly, a blood sword was shot out. Huh. Tuobayi laughed loudly and said, "Kid, Tuobayi's performance might have blinded me, but he still died under my sword." Boom. The wind shadow sword finally slashed onto a piece of the martial stage. There was a loud sound, and the entire martial stage split open from the middle. Gradually, the dust settled, and the cloud of dust dispersed. Everyone was appalled to see Yang Dingtian standing in the center, unscathed. Ho! Yang Dingtian let out a long breath of relief. Immediately, a strand of hair fell from his forehead. During the wind shadow sword's berserk slaughter, his speed wasn't fast enough and was sliced off by the sword radiance formed from mystic chi. How is this possible? Tuobayi exclaimed, "Why aren't you dead yet? How is this possible?" Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian with disbelief. They all thought that he was dead for sure, but who knew that he was still unscathed? Tuobayi's expression instantly turned extremely unpleasant. He previously said that he was going to eliminate Yang Dingtian in 2 moves. Now that the first move was over, Yang Dingtian actually didn't die. If Yang Dingtian still didn't die in the next move, then Tuobayi would suffer a crushing defeat. Therefore, Tuobayi had to use all his strength for the 3rd move and kill Yang Dingtian. Tuobayi's expression instantly turned grave as he spoke to Yang Dingtian coldly, "Your movement skill is indeed very strange and can dodge my mystic skill. Let's see how you are going to dodge the 3rd move." Tempest Sword. Tuobayi roared and leaped up. The artifact sword in Tuobayi's hand turned into a lump of cold radiance as it danced in the air. Tuobayi used all his strength for the 3rd mystic skill, and the power was several-fold stronger than before. He had to dismember Yang Dingtian into thousands of pieces. Note. Chapter 133. In an instant, the sky suddenly darkened and was filled with Tuobayi's sword lights which were like stars. Every second, Tuobayi would release dozens of mystic chi sword lights which were suspended in the sky. Swish 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 swish. Tuobayi constantly brandished his long sword, causing countless sword lights to vibrate above Yang Dingtian's head but didn't descend. There were more and more sword lights. Dozens, hundreds, and finally over 1,000. Everyone present had a change in expression. In order to kill Yang Dingtian, Tuobayi was truly risking his life and actually summoned such a horrifying amount of mystic chi sword lights. This hurricane sword storm could be big or small, and there could be more or less of it. There could be dozens or hundreds of them. Normally, a few hundred sword lights would be the maximum, and a few hundred sword lights would be enough to kill dozens of people. In order to kill Yang Dingtian, Tuobayi had actually overdrafted his entire body's mystic chi. Tuobayi had summoned over 1,000 mystic chi sword lights. After the summoning, over 1,000 beautiful and horrifying mystic chi sword lights were suspended above Yang Dingtian's head. They were emitting chilling white light and looked extremely beautiful and horrifying from afar. The sky above Tuobayi's head was densely covered by the sword lights and couldn't be dodged. Tuobayi's body fluttered and retreated dozens of steps. Tuobayi's side was deathly pale and bloodless. "Kid, let me see how you are going to dodge this time. Go and die. Turn into ashes." Tuobayi let out a malevolent roar and cleaved the sharp sword in his hand. Instantly, over 1,000 mystic chi sword lights suspended in the sky seemed to have heard the order and descended rapidly like a storm. Swish 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 swish. Countless white sword lights were like a concentrated meteor shower as they smashed towards Yang Dingtian. Instantly, the sky was covered in a snow-white color. Everyone couldn't bear to watch. As long as Yang Dingtian was stabbed once, he would lose half his life. If he was stabbed 10 times, he would definitely die. Right now, over 1,000 swords were thrusting towards his head. It was truly undodgeable and unavoidable. Every inch of the sword was filled with profound energy, and every inch was filled with fatal killing intent. Everyone was waiting for Yang Dingtian to make another stunning move. But out of everyone's expectations, Yang Dingtian actually stood on the spot. With an explosive shout, he suddenly arched his body, lowered his head, and straightened his back to welcome the rain of swords that covered the sky. Was he crazy? He actually intends to use his own body to forcefully resist these 1,000+ strands of profound energy sword light. Does he want to die without an intact corpse and be smashed into pieces? That's right, Yang Dingtian was crazy. He didn't have the slightest bit of confidence in doing this. He was just gambling that he could bear it. He is betting that his 9 yang profound veins can withstand it. After all, what is falling from the sky is a virtual sword beam condensed from Xian Qi and not a real sword. Profound energy first attacks a person's profound veins and sea of Qi, followed by the physical body. But if he lost the bet, he would be smashed to pieces. But at this moment, he could only gamble. Whoosh! Thousands of sword auras condensed into a huge ball of snow-white light, smashing towards Yang Dingtian's back, towards his entire body. Many people present immediately closed their eyes, unable to bear it. At this moment, Yang Dingtian, who had arched his back, looked shorter than usual. However, it gave people the illusion that he was not a person standing there, but a mountain. Whoosh 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 whoosh, countless sword beams crazily shot towards Yang Dingtian's body. Most of the sword beams scattered towards his back. The remaining few pierced towards his head, legs, arms, and every corner of his body was being attacked by the crazy profound energy. Puff 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 puff, Yang Dingtian's clothes turned into powder. Yang Dingtian's hair turned into powder. Countless blood mist shot out. In an instant, a bright red blood mist completely enveloped Yang Dingtian's entire body. Everyone was speechless as they looked at everything in front of them in shock. Bang, 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 the remaining sword aura shot into the ground, picking up a lot of dust and cutting deep cracks in the hard ground. In an instant, the entire ground was mottled with countless cracks. The sky full of sword rain had ended. The place where Yang Dingtian was standing was completely enveloped by the blood mist, and no one could see his figure. "Ha, you are finally dead." Tuobayi laughed crazily. Everyone present had a miserable expression. That's right, Yang Dingtian was definitely dead. Mu Lianqing was in despair as he held his sword horizontally and muttered to himself, "Young lord, this old slave will follow you to the underground." Finishing his statement, Mu Lianqing was about to behead himself. Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the blood mist. A sharp sword turned into a snow-white shooting star and shot towards Tuobayi with lightning speed. Yang Dingtian actually didn't die. Right now, Yang Dingtian was completely naked and covered in blood. Yang Dingtian actually didn't die. At the final juncture, he actually made a desperate counterattack and stabbed towards Tuobayi. Right now, Tuobayi's mystic chi was completely depleted. When he saw the bloodied Yang Dingtian wielding the broken sword and shooting over, he couldn't help but be inconsolable. He wanted to escape, counterattack, and retreat. But without mystic chi, he couldn't do anything. Yang Dingtian's broken sword pierced into Tuobayi's chest and flicked upwards. Tuobayi let out a miserable shriek as blood spurted out. His entire body flew out for dozens of meters, and his entire left arm was severed. Everything happened as fast as lightning and thunder. Before anyone could react, Tuobayi was already lying on the ground and screaming miserably. His flesh was badly mutilated, and his left arm was severed. Not only were the members of the Mu clan docks unable to react in time, even the experts from the Raging Flames castle couldn't react in time. Everyone was truly stunned. Everyone thought that Yang Dingtian was definitely going to die. But who would have thought that the outcome would be like this? Mu Lianqing, Li Guinong, and Mu Lianyi were all in a daze. Almost no one believed that this was the truth. Some even pinched themselves to see if they were dreaming. Yang Dingtian actually won. Not only did he not die, but he also won. Furthermore, he even severed Tuoba Ye's arm. Right now, Yang Dingtian's entire body seemed to be soaked in blood. He used the broken sword to point at Tuoba Ye, who was lying in a pool of blood, and said, "You have lost. Therefore, you cannot touch the Mu clan's assets. You should leave now." Of course, Yang Dingtian could have killed Tuoba Ye just now because Tuoba Ye had exhausted all his mystic qi. When Tuoba Ye executed the third move, the storm sword, he was simply too crazy and didn't leave any mystic qi behind. But Yang Dingtian definitely couldn't kill him because there were dozens of experts from the Raging Flames castle here. A few hundred cavalrymen from the Raging Flames castle had already surrounded the entire Mu clan docks. Once Tuoba Ye was killed, they would definitely start a massacre in the Mu clan docks. Why was Yang Dingtian able to win? Because he had the 9 Yang mystic meridians. Because he was able to withstand the powerful mystic qi damage. Therefore, he suggested for Tuoba Ye to use mystic skills instead of using martial arts to clash with sharp blades. If Tuoba Ye used martial arts or saber to clash, Yang Dingtian wouldn't have any chance of winning or surviving. When Yang Dingtian suggested for Tuoba Ye to use mystic skills, everyone thought that he was crazy. Only he knew that this was his only way to survive. And this way to survive was definitely to place himself in a death trap and fight to survive. After Yang Dingtian spoke, everyone seemed to have woken up from their stupor. Long live! It was unknown who started shouting first, but everyone in the Mu clan dock started cheering and shouting excitedly. Long live Yen Nantian! Long live Yen Nantian! Yang Dingtian's body was dripping with blood. He wielded the broken sword and said to Tuoba Ye, "You have lost. You should leave now." At this moment, Tuoba Ye's handsome face was completely distorted. He looked at Yang Dingtian as though he was looking at a devil. Astonishment and shock gradually receded from Tuoba Ye's face. It was replaced by malevolence, distortion, wrath, and resentment. Chapter 134. Wait! Mu Liancheng yelled out, "Tuoba Ye, take the fire immunity chilling pearl and leave immediately. It's too late." Tuoba Ye yelled out, "Yen Nantian defeated me, and all of you will die. The blood of a few hundred is just enough to wash away the humiliation of my defeat. Kill!" Tuoba Ye ordered. 10 Raging Flames castle's elders brandished their swords and thrust at Li Guinong. The remaining 2 Raging Flames castle's elders rushed at Mu Liancheng and Mu Liani. Splitting flames burst. Li Guinong yelled out and spat out a lump of blood mist. He instantly increased his mystic qi by 50% before thrusting the large sword on his hand into the ground. Boom 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 boom, extremely powerful energy flames were shot out and blasted at the 10 Raging Flames castle's elders. Bang! On the martial stage, there was an extremely bright radiance that made the 2 suns in the sky lose their color. The Raging Flames castle's elders were blasted back by the powerful energy and vomited a mouthful of blood. The 10 elders thrusted out sword lights and struck Li Guinong's entire body. Instantly, 10 blood arrows were shot out from Li Guinong's body. His face was instantly drained of blood and almost fell to the ground. Just this move was enough to force back 10 Raging Flames castle's elders. It was obvious how powerful Li Guinong was and how he was invincible within 1,000 miles. However, he was facing 10 enemies. The 10 Raging Flames castle's elders stopped in mid-air and brandished their sharp swords before thrusting at Li Guinong ferociously. At the same time, another Raging Flames castle's elder pierced through Mu Liancheng's arm. Blood spurted out violently as Mu Liancheng flew over 10 meters away. The Raging Flames castle's armored cavalry also started a frenzied massacre. In an instant, the entire Mu clan docks was filled with blood and miserable cries. Ah! Seeing that Li Guinong, who was blocking in front of him, was about to be penetrated by the 10 sharp swords, Yang Dingtian roared and used the last of his strength to rush forward. He brandished his broken sword and rushed at the Raging Flames Castle's elders. "I am here. Come and kill me!" Yang Dingtian roared with a frenzied voice. In an instant, 5 swords changed their direction and thrusted at Yang Dingtian's chest. The other 5 pierced toward Li Guinong. Li Guinong's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets when he saw the other 5 stabbing towards Yang Dingtian. Ah! Li Guinong spat out another mouthful of blood, overdrawing all of his profound energy, and burst out a powerful wall of flames, forcing the 5 people to retreat. The sword in his right hand suddenly slashed towards the 5 swords that were stabbing towards Yang Dingtian. Bang! A loud sound rang out. 5 sharp swords left a 2-inch deep wound on Li Guinong's body, and then he was sent flying more than 10 meters away by the flame wall. As for the other 5 swords, even though Li Guinong tried his best to cut them apart, it was already too late. The 5 broken swords pierced Yang Dingtian's chest. Don't! Li Guinong's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as he roared. Bang! Yang Dingtian's body suddenly flew hundreds of meters away. In the air, Yang Dingtian spat out another mouthful of blood. However, there was no wound on his chest. Because he had the deep-sea mystic clothes, the sharp swords couldn't penetrate his chest. However, the mystic energy from the 5 sharp swords still went through the deep-sea mystic clothes and tore apart his mystic meridians. Yang Dingtian, who was sent flying hundreds of meters away by the 5 sharp swords, fell heavily beside Tuobayi. Right now, Li Guinong had already exhausted almost all of his mystic energy. After landing, he frantically rushed towards Yang Dingtian, wanting to save Yang Dingtian. However, the 10 Raging Flames Castle's elders surrounded Li Guinong in a frenzy, wanting to kill him. Tuobayi saw Yang Dingtian fall at his feet, covered in blood, and motionless. He was instantly overjoyed and laughed heartily. "Yen Nantian, you actually delivered yourself to my feet. Since you want lust over your life, I shall castrate you and see how lustful you are." Tuobayi laughed loudly and spoke ruthlessly, "Kill Mu Liancheng, kill Li Guinong, and strip Mu Lieni of her clothes. I will ravage Mu Lieni in front of everyone right here on this slaughterhouse. I will let them see the outcome of offending me, Tuobayi." Finishing his statement, Tuobayi aimed at Yang Dingtian's crotch and slashed down. Yang Dingtian's eyes widened as he abruptly sprung up from the ground. He placed the broken sword on Tuobayi's neck and yelled out, "Everyone stop. If you don't wish for your young lord to die, everyone stop." Instantly, everyone present was shocked. Wasn't Yen Nantian already sent flying by the 5 broken swords, and no one knew if he was dead or alive? How did young Lord Tuobayi fall into his hands again? At this moment, the Raging Flames Castle's elders didn't dare to move. When Tuobayi turned hostile, Yang Dingtian wanted to capture Tuobayi as a hostage. However, there were over a dozen Raging Flames Castle's elders in the middle, and he couldn't rush over. Therefore, he risked his life and allowed the Raging Flames Castle's elders to stab him, sending him flying to Tuobayi's side. He was gambling with his life. He was gambling that his deep-sea mystic clothes and 9 yang mystic meridians could withstand these shocking swords. Right now, he had won the bet, and Tuobayi had fallen into his hands again. Tuobayi, who had fallen into Yang Dingtian's hands, had no mystic qi in his body. Apart from the initial panic, he quickly calmed down and spoke coldly, "Yang Dingtian, you don't dare to kill me. If you have the guts, then kill me. If you kill me, all of you will have to die with me. Ask your men to withdraw from the Mu clan. Otherwise, I will immediately behead you." Yang Dingtian spoke coldly. Dream on." Tuobayi laughed loudly and said, "You don't dare to kill me." Immediately after, Tuobayi yelled out, "What are you guys waiting for? Continue the massacre and wipe out everyone from the Mu clan village. Strip Mu Lieni's clothes off for me. Anyone can do her, don't worry, that trash Yen Nantian doesn't dare to kill me." This Tuobayi was indeed extremely perverted. Once he spoke, the Raging Flames Castle's members immediately started the massacre again. Li Guinong and the others were once again surrounded by danger. There were even 2 elders from the Raging Flames castle that pounced at Mu Lianyi with lustful eyes. PFFF. Yang Dingtian suddenly slashed down with his sword. Ah! Tuobayi let out a miserable yell as the remaining half of his arm was instantly severed. Ask them to stop. Yang Dingtian yelled at Tuobayi. You are dreaming. Tuobayi, this pervert, was actually so unyielding as he roared at Yang Dingtian. PFFF. Yang Dingtian suddenly slashed down again. Ah! Tuobayi let out a world-shaking miserable yell as his right leg was severed by Yang Dingtian. Fresh blood spurted out like a fountain. Ask your men to back down. Yang Dingtian spoke with rage, otherwise, I will castrate you. Dream on. Tuobayi yelled, if you dare to castrate me, I will ask everyone here to gang rape Mu Lianyi to death. PFFF. Yang Dingtian slashed down with his sword. Ah! Ah! Tuobayi let out a miserable shriek like a malicious spirit as he looked at his treasure in disbelief as it was severed by Yang Dingtian's sword. Yan Nantian, you dare, you dare. Tuobayi was as malevolent as a malicious spirit as he let out a miserable shriek. Ask your men to back down. Otherwise, I will immediately behead you. Yang Dingtian yelled out coldly. Tuobayi, who was like a malicious spirit, stopped screaming as his eyes turned extremely sinister. He then revealed a cruel smile and said, my head is your final guarantee of survival. You don't dare to behead me. Following which, Tuobayi yelled out, exterminate the Mu clan docs and gang rape Mu Lianyi to death. Ha ha ha. Yan Nantian, you don't dare to kill me. You have to preserve your life. You don't dare to kill me. Tuobayi laughed maniacally. Yang Dingtian glanced outside the manor before slashing down with his sword, splitting Tuobayi's mutilated body into 2. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. Tuobayi's cruel smile suddenly stopped. Even until his death, he didn't expect Yang Dingtian to really kill him. Instantly, the entire place was in silence. Chapter 135. Yang Dingtian looked at the Golden Knight's face and thought, Wu Xingwen, are you finally willing to show yourself? Everyone from the Raging Flames castle had a drastic change in expression. What made him afraid was the Tiando League. If they offended the Tiando League, then their Raging Flames castle would definitely be annihilated and no one would be able to save them. And the fiery red cavalry in front of them was the Southwest Armed Force of the Tiando League. To be honest, not to mention that this Blazing Flame cavalry was much more elite than the Raging Flames castle's cavalry. If Wu Xinglie brought this Blazing Flame cavalry to destroy the Raging Flames castle, then the Tuoba clan would not dare to resist at all. Otherwise, there would be even more tragic consequences. Stop! Elder Huiying ordered. Actually, even without his order, the Raging Flames castle's people did not dare to do anything. Xingwen, is that you? Mu Lianyi, who had been staring at the Golden Knight, suddenly asked timidly. That Golden Knight turned his head and slowly lifted the golden mask on his face, revealing a handsome, proud, and cold face. Mu Lianyi's familiar yet unfamiliar face. That's right, it was Wu Xingwen, but now he was called Wu Xinglie. Facing Mu Lianyi, his cold and proud face instantly melted and his gaze became extremely gentle as he said, It's me, I'm back. Your Wu Xingwen is back. So, he was Mu Lianyi's lover, Wu Xingwen, the son of a fisherman. Now, he had become the commander of the Blazing Flame Cavalry in the Northwest Division of the Tiando League and one of the future rulers of the Southwest. From the son of a fisherman, he had become the proud son of the heavens. He had promised Mu Lianyi that he would come back and marry her 5 years later when he was successful and worthy of Mu Lianyi. Now, he had come back in a way that Mu Lianyi could not imagine. Riding a tall horse, wearing red and gold armor, holding a mystical fire sword, he had returned with thousands of soldiers and horses. This ending was 10,000 times more impressive and beautiful than what Mu Lianyi had imagined. Mu Lianyi looked at all this in disbelief, as if she was instantly defeated by happiness. She covered her small mouth and let out a heart-wrenching cry. Then, she suddenly ran towards Wu Xinglie. Wu Xinglie carried Mu Lianyi onto the horse and said gently, I'm sorry, I'm late. Mu Lianyi cried even harder, as if she wanted to vent all the humiliation and fright she had suffered during this period of time. Why are you only back now? You're finally back. I've been waiting for you every day. Wu Xinglie said, I'm sorry, I came late and made you suffer so much. No, that's nothing. As long as you're here, I'm happier than anything else, Mu Lianyi said softly. The two of them were quiet for quite a while. None of the thousands of people present spoke. It was as if they were all watching Wu Xinglie and Mu Lianyi being lovey-dovey. Suddenly, Mu Lianyi thought of Yang Dingtian. She pointed at him and said, Xingwen, this is brother Yan Nantian. He risked his life to save my life and my dignity. After Tuobayi lost the martial arts competition, he wanted to violate his oath and kill brother Yan Nantian. You have to save him. Of course. Wu Xinglie walked in front of Yang Dingtian and said, Hero Yan, my gratitude is indescribable. You are Lianyi's big brother, which means you are also my, Wu Xinglie's, big brother. Yang Dingtian used all his strength to reveal a smile and said, You're welcome. I'll leave the rest to you. Finishing his statement, Yang Dingtian closed his eyes and entered a state of unconsciousness. Wu Xinglie slowly walked in front of Elder Hui Ying and said coldly, Now, what should you do? Elder Hui Ying's expression changed and said, We will retreat immediately. From today onwards, we will never touch anything in the Mu clan docks. Is that all? Wu Xinglie said coldly, You did something wrong. Don't you need to be punished? Hui Ying's expression changed drastically. He nodded and said, Understood. Then, he took out 3 daggers. PFFF. He stabbed the daggers into his chest and abdomen. Tuobayi vomited a mouthful of blood and said, Commander Wu, can we leave now? Let's go. Wu Xinglie said, But after you return, chop off the heads of everyone who killed today and send them to my Raging Flames cavalry. This order was already extremely arrogant and despotic. Elder Hui Ying's expression twitched. He gritted his teeth and said while trembling, Yes. After we return, I will immediately kill and send over the heads. Then there's nothing else. You may leave. Wu Xinglie said. Many thanks. Tuobayi said. Then, dozens of Raging Flames Castle's elders brought Tuobayi and left respectfully. The Raging Flames Castle's black cavalry also retreated in panic. In less than 10 minutes, everyone from the Raging Flames Castle had retreated completely. The entire Mu clan docks was left with blood, injured people, and thousands of flame-like cavalry troops. Wu Xinglie walked to Mu Lianyi's side and said, When I was 3,000 miles away, I already heard that something had happened to you. Thus, I led the cavalry troops and rushed for 4 days and 4 nights without sleeping, resting, eating, or sleeping. I finally arrived at the last moment and didn't let the most terrifying thing happen. If anything had happened to you, I would never forgive myself. Mu Lianyi said gently, Don't think like that. You still saved all of us. You have already done your best. If I had arrived earlier, then these innocent people wouldn't have died. I even know many of them. Wu Xinglie sighed and said, Also, the reason why I didn't kill Tuobayi was because I couldn't. Regarding the Raging Flames Castle, the higher-ups didn't give the final order to the Raging Flames Castle. I understand. Mu Lianyi said gently, I understand everything that you have done. Wu Xinglie said, It has been 5 years. I am finally back. I finally made a name for myself and returned to your side. Yang Dingtian slept for 3 days and 3 nights before waking up. Even though he had consumed the high-grade elixir refined by Shiman Ningning, the mystic qi in his body had only recovered by less than half. However, such recovery ability was already heaven-defying. If it was someone else who had suffered such severe injuries, They would definitely need at least 3 months to half a year to recover. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Mulieni, who was sleeping by the bed. She had already changed her clothes, but it was still the tight-fitting leather clothes. However, this time, the sea snake clothes were white with golden stripes. Yang Dingtian supported himself on the bed and sat up. "Big brother Yan, you are awake." Mulieni immediately woke up and said with surprise, "How do you feel?" "I am fine." Yang Dingtian said, "Have you been serving me for a long time? You should be accompanying Wu Xinglia. You two haven't met for 5 years." Mulieni probably hadn't slept for a long time, so her pretty face was filled with fatigue. However, she didn't look haggard. Instead, she looked even more charming. Obviously, it was because of the nourishment of love. Hearing Yang Dingtian's words, Mulieni's face showed a trace of shyness. She said, "Big brother Yan was injured because of me. Of course, I have to serve you. As for accompanying him, I have already waited for 5 years. I am not in a hurry. There will be plenty of time in the future." Even though she was a bit shy, she was still natural and unrestrained when talking about being together with Wu Xinglia. "How is your father's injury?" Yang Dingtian asked. Mulieni said, "It's just a flesh wound. He will be fine after applying medicine on the spot." Then, Mulieni looked at Yang Dingtian with her big eyes, as if she wanted to say something. "What's the matter? Say it." Yang Dingtian said with a smile, "If you want my help, just say it." Mulieni said with joy, "I really need Big Brother Yan's help. My father doesn't allow me to be with Xingwen." Yang Dingtian said, "Why is that? Wu Xinglia is already very prominent now. He is the deputy commander of the Tiando League's southwest branch of the Blazing Cavalry. No one in the entire southwest continent dares to offend him. Even if he travels the world, he will be treated as a distinguished guest." Mulieni said, "My father said that the final winner of my martial arts competition is you. Moreover, Big Brother Yan almost gave up his life for me. Therefore, I should be with you. There is no reason for me to be with another man." After saying that, Mulieni opened her big watery eyes and held Yang Dingtian's arm. She said with a pleading look, "Big Brother Yan, let's become sworn brothers. Therefore, you can't ignore your little sister's lifelong happiness. Can you go and talk to my father? He will definitely be willing to listen to you." Mulieni begged while holding Yang Dingtian's arm and swinging it. His arm touched her body from time to time. Of course, she was doing it subconsciously. This girl was truly wild and careless. However, Yang Dingtian also felt that it shouldn't be like this. He quickly pulled his arm back and said, "All right, I will go and look for Uncle Mu now. I will speak when it is time." Yang Dingtian didn't say anything because he still had some doubts in his heart. "That's great. Thank you." Mulieni hugged Yang Dingtian's arm again and kept swinging it. Afterward, she was about to drag Yang Dingtian out. Nephew Yan, how do you feel?" When he saw Muliencheng, he immediately stood up and greeted. "I am fine." Yang Dingtian asked, "How is Uncle Mu? You were stabbed once. Are there any problems?" Muliencheng shook his head and said, "It is just a flesh wound. Instead, it is sect Patriarch Li who will need at least half a year to recover. The one who suffered the worst injury is nephew Shimin Bao. He will need at least 1 to 2 years and I don't know if he can fully recover. Sigh, I actually implicated so many people because of my family's private matters. I, Muliencheng, truly deserve to die. Don't say it like this. We can't just sit and wait for death." Yang Dingtian said, "This matter has already passed. Don't think about it anymore. Did the people from the Raging Flames Castle come to disturb us during these 2 days? How would they dare?" Muliencheng said, "The entire Raging Flames Castle was frightened out of their wits by Wu Xinglia. They sent me a few 100,000 gold coins as compensation and over 100 heads as compensation." Yang Dingtian said, "Since this Wu Xinglia is so incredible, why do you still want to stop him from being together with Liani? When he heard Yang Dingtian mentioning this, Mu Lianqing's expression changed slightly and said, You don't fancy my daughter? She should be with you. Yang Dingtian laughed and said, Liani is beautiful and generous. Everyone will like her. But Uncle Mu, you know that I already have a wife. I cannot let her down. Mu Lianqing said, Then let my daughter be your servant. Even if she is a servant, it will be our Mu clan's blessing. When he said this, Mu Liani's delicate body trembled and revealed an expression of disbelief. That's right, Yan Nantian almost lost his life for her and completely saved her life. But it wasn't to the extent of being a servant. Could it be that she, the Mu clan's young lady, was so lowly? Father, Big Brother Yan saved me and I am very grateful. I am even willing to use my life to repay him. But gratitude is gratitude, and feelings are feelings. If you want me to sacrifice myself out of gratitude, I can't do it. Mu Liani immediately said loudly, Furthermore, am I so lowly in your eyes that I have to be a servant? Mu Lianqing said loudly, You don't even have the qualifications to be a servant. Finishing his statement, Mu Lianqing went to close all the doors and made sure that there was no one around. He then spoke to Mu Liani coldly, Kneel down, Mu Liani. Mu Liani didn't understand, but she still clenched her teeth and knelt down. She was filled with stubbornness and grievance. The person in front of you isn't Yan Nantian. He is Yang Dingtian, our young lord and the future Cloud Heaven City Lord. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 136. The person in front of you isn't called Yan Nantian. He is called Yang Dingtian, our young lord and the future Cloud Heaven City Lord. Mu Lianqing emphasized each word and said, My life and your mother's life were bestowed by City Lord Shimen. Now, your life is also bestowed by young lord. Tell me, isn't it your duty to be a slave or a servant? Isn't it your fortune? Mu Liani looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. Master, master, master. She had heard this term countless times since she was young. In recent months, she had heard a new term, young lord. Similarly, she had heard it from her father countless times. In fact, Mu Lianqing had been planning to send her to Cloud Heaven City to be a slave or a servant to young Lord Yang Dingtian. If it wasn't for the incident in Cloud Heaven City, he might have already sent Mu Liani over. This big brother Yan that she had sworn brotherhood with was actually the legendary Yang Dingtian, the legendary young lord. Instantly, countless emotions surged up. Even though she knew that Shimen Wuya had saved the lives of the Mu clan's 3 members. In Mu Liani's heart, she hated Shimen Wuya more than she was grateful. Because of Shimen Wuya's existence, her father had to live in pain and guilt for his entire life, causing the Mu clan to be unable to have freedom and happiness. As for the legendary young lord, Mu Liani's heart was filled with resentment. Why should I, such a delicate and free beauty, be your servant the moment I was born? Why should I? In an instant, Mu Liani looked at Yang Dingtian with a complicated gaze. Sensing Mu Liani's hostility, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but let out a bitter smile. He then said to Mu Lianqing, Uncle Mu, please leave first. I will speak to Liani. Yes, young lord. Mu Lianqing bowed respectfully before speaking coldly to Mu Liani. Mu Liani, remember this. You are young lord's person in life and young lord's ghost in death. Forget about Wu Xingwen who had pledged his life to you. Finishing his statement, Mu Lianqing backed off while facing Yang Dingtian and left the room with utmost respect. Suddenly, only Yang Dingtian and Mu Liani were left in the room. The atmosphere became heavy and awkward. Liani, we need to consider this matter at length. Yang Dingtian said with a smile. Uncle Mu's tone just now was too firm and stubborn. I couldn't refute it directly. But don't worry, I'll use my status as the young master to order him to give you the freedom to choose your happiness. How about that? Mu Liani's expression immediately softened. She bowed respectfully and said, Thank you, young master. Her attitude became respectful, but at the same time, she also kept a respectful distance, with a hint of indifference. Young master, don't blame me for my attitude. I really can't suppress my emotions. That's right, I hate City Lord Shimin, and I hate you, young master Yang Dingtian. Mu Lianyi said, do you know how we've been through all these years? Please elaborate. Yang Dingtian said. We've always been carrying a heavy mountain on our backs. My father has always been living in guilt. Before giving birth to me, my mother had to flee for thousands of miles and suffered all kinds of hardships. After giving birth to me, she was weak and sickly. However, after coming to the southwest continent and establishing the Mu clan docks, my father never spoke to me. My father never said a word to my mother, no matter how gentle she was, no matter how affectionate she was. On the surface, they looked like a loving couple. However, as long as there was no one around, my father never spoke to her or touched her. He never forgave my mother. Finally, when I was 5 years old, my mother died of depression. That night, my father aged 10 years. He loved my mother very much, but he felt that he owed City Lord Shimin a lot. The guilt in his heart made him feel that he couldn't love my mother. It was also because of this guilt that he felt that he didn't deserve to be happy. He always lived in guilt and felt that he owed City Lord Shimin. It was also because of me that he would have killed his way to the Inyang school with a knife and let them cut him into pieces. Only then would he feel that he didn't owe City Lord Shimin anything. Master is gone. Now that young master has appeared in front of us, my father couldn't wait to give everything to you. Naturally, that includes me. Mu Lianyi smiled sadly. Taking a deep breath, Mu Lianyi said, my father is finished. He has completely become a slave to his thoughts. However, I want to be free. If I can't be free, I'd rather die. Therefore, I want to pursue the right to be happy. I want to keep the right to my feelings. I can't be your slave, young master Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, I know. I'll go tell your father now. After saying that, Yang Dingtian directly left the room. Thank you, big brother Yan. Mu Lianyi's voice suddenly became gentle, my resentment wasn't towards you. It was towards that legendary young master. In my heart, you will always be my big brother Yan. Yang Dingtian stopped and smiled. Then, this little sister's lifelong happiness will be in big brother's hands. Mu Lianyi said. Don't worry. Yang Dingtian then walked out. Uncle Mu, I will never let Mu Lianyi become my woman. Yang Dingtian walked in front of Mu Liancheng and went straight to the point. She doesn't have this obligation. She has absolute freedom and the right to choose her happiness. Mu Liancheng's body shook and remained silent for a long time. 2 minutes later, Mu Liancheng said, Young master, even if my daughter doesn't have the fortune to be with you, I will never agree for her to be with that Wu Xinglie. Why? Yang Dingtian said, what's the problem with this Wu Xinglie? He is already very promising. At least, he is more illustrious than me, the empty successor of Cloud Heaven City. Mu Liancheng said, Young master, Sect Patriarch Li just received the news. Wu Xinglie's so-called Tiando League's southwest branch, the Blazing Fire Cavalry, is actually the Northwest Qin clan's military force that has encroached on the southwest continent. They are just using the name of the Tiando League to conceal the Northwest Qin clan's ambitions. This Wu Xinglie is the trusted aide of the Northwest Qin clan's young master and is his sword slave. It is just like my relationship with City Lord Shimin back then. Yang Dingtian frowned and said, have you investigated it? It's true. Mu Liancheng said, furthermore, their first target in the southwest continent was the Raging Flames Castle. They wanted to subdue the Raging Flames Castle as their fangs and claws. Therefore, they didn't exterminate the Raging Flames Castle. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, if that's the case, Mu Lianyi really cannot marry Wu Xinglie. Otherwise, there will be a bloodbath in the future. Yang Dingtian didn't pretentiously say that love was the most important thing and directly rejected it. I will talk to her about this. Yang Dingtian then walked out. Mu Liancheng said gratefully, Young lord, I will talk to her. No need. Yang Dingtian said. How is it? Big brother Yen. Did my father agree? When she saw Yang Dingtian enter, Muliani immediately ran over with hope. Yang Dingtian immediately shook his head. Muliani's delicate body trembled as she immediately cried out, Why? Why? Why didn't he agree? Yang Dingtian said, Not only did he disagree, but I will not agree as well. Muliani was startled as she looked at Yang Dingtian in confusion and asked, Why didn't you agree? You, what right do you have to disagree? Wu Xinglie is a member of the Northwest Qin clan, and you are a member of Cloud Heaven City. The Northwest Qin clan and Cloud Heaven City are irreconcilable. The two of you cannot be together. Yang Dingtian said resolutely. I am not a member of Cloud Heaven City, and I don't want to be a member of Cloud Heaven City. Muliani immediately said loudly, You are my father's young lord, not my young lord. You don't have the right to tell me what to do. This is not up to you. You have the right to not be my servant, but you don't have the right to be with a member of the Northwest Qin clan. Yang Dingtian said resolutely. No, I insist on being with him. No one in the world can stop me, let alone a bullshit young lord like you who has nothing to do with me. Muliani said angrily, Don't think I don't know what you are thinking. You are jealous of Xingwen. You appear to be magnanimous and say that you want to help us. In fact, your heart is filled with possessiveness towards me. You can't possess me, and you won't let any other man have me. When she said this, Yang Dingtian was instantly shocked. He didn't dare to believe that Muliani would say such words. Humph. Muliani sneered and said, You are jealous of Xingwen. You are jealous that he is stronger than you, more outstanding, and more prestigious than you. Of course, you don't want to see him doing well and you don't want to see us together. Yang Dingtian was instantly speechless and looked at Muliani in shock. He really couldn't say a word. You are presumptuous. You ungrateful woman. In an instant, Mu Lianqing rushed in and gave Muliani a tight slap. Paw! There was a crisp sound. Muliani's delicate body was sent flying and fell to the ground. Her delicate face instantly swelled up while blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Even though she was slapped, Muliani's face was still filled with stubbornness and unyielding. She said to Mu Lianqing, Father, even if you beat me to death, I will say it. You are a slave of Cloud Heaven City, but I am not. I am a free spirit. If you want to be a slave of Cloud Heaven City, you can do it. I don't want to be one. If you want to be Yang Dingtian's slave, you can do it. I don't want to be one. Even if you beat me to death, I will pursue my freedom and feelings. I want to be together with Xingwen. In an instant, Mu Lianqing was so angry that his body was trembling. His vision turned black and he almost fainted. Clenching his fist, Mu Lianqing said coldly, Mu Liani, I will tell you directly. If you want to be together with Wu Xinglie, then you are not my daughter. From now on, I will sever our father-daughter relationship. If you want to be a woman of the Northwest Qin clan, then don't be a daughter of Cloud Heaven City. Finishing his statement, Mu Lianqing suddenly flung his body and left. Also, Mu Liani, if you dare to reveal the young lord's identity, I will kill you. Mu Lianqing said the last few words coldly and resolutely. After Mu Liani heard it, her face suddenly turned pale and didn't have any color of blood. In the room, only Yang Dingtian and Mu Liani were left. Yang Dingtian didn't have any intention to help Mu Liani up, nor did he have any intention to explain. Mu Liani's heart was filled with resentment and prejudice. Any explanation was useless. Is your father more important or your lover more important? You have to weigh it yourself. Furthermore, the Northwest Qin clan has entered the Southwest continent with ulterior motives. Wu Xinglie isn't a simple person. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Mu Liani lifted her head and sneered, Young Lord Yang Dingtian, don't forget that Xingwen saved your life 3 days ago. Are you so eager to slander him now? Oh, that's right. Mu Liani continued, 3 days ago, I owed you my life, but Xingwen saved your life. I am his lover, and we have no distinction between each other. Therefore, I no longer owe you anything. Yang Dingtian said indifferently, you originally didn't owe me anything. Chapter 137. After leaving the Mu clan docks, Mu Lianyi stood in the middle of the road to the north, waiting for Yang Dingtian. When he saw that Yang Dingtian had caught up to him, he turned around and continued to run towards the north. He was extremely agile and soundless. In the night, Yang Dingtian followed closely, but he didn't know where Mu Lianyi was going. It turned out that she didn't put the fire immunity chilling pearl in the Mu clan docks, but she hid it somewhere else. But then again, it wasn't safe in the Mu clan docks. Mu Lianyi kept running north. In the darkness, she was really like a cat. She was fast and silent. After running for more than 100 miles, there was a huge stone mountain in front of her. The entire stone mountain was so tall that it reached the sky. The side that was facing Yang Dingtian was a perfectly straight and precipitous stone wall. Without another word, Mu Lianyi rushed to the bottom of the stone wall. Then, she abruptly jumped up 7 or 8 meters. Her delicate body was completely attached to the stone wall. Then, she quickly climbed up like a gecko. Yang Dingtian followed suit and jumped up a dozen meters. He stuck to the stone wall and climbed up as well. Just like this, Mu Lianyi was in front and Yang Dingtian was behind her. They quickly climbed up the mountain. The stone mountain was more than 2,000 meters high. Yang Dingtian and Mu Lianyi didn't say anything and took more than 10 minutes to climb to the top. At the top of the mountain, gusts of wind blew. The mountains and forests below were like black beasts being trampled under their feet. The entire mountain was flat and only a few hundred square meters in size. It was as if the entire mountain was a huge rock. I'm the only one who knows where the fire immunity chilling pearl is hidden. Even my father doesn't know. Mu Lianyi said, I'm going to find Xingwen soon. Before I leave, I'll give you the fire immunity chilling pearl. This is what I promised. But before I give you the fire immunity chilling pearl, I have a condition. Say it. Yang Dingtian said. After you get the fire immunity chilling pearl, leave my house immediately. Mu Lianyi said, don't go back to the Mu clan docks. Don't have anything to do with my father in the future. I hope he doesn't have anything to do with Cloud Heaven City. Otherwise, sooner or later, he will die in your hands. Yang Dingtian didn't reply because he didn't intend to disturb Mu Lianqing's peaceful life. The reason why he stayed behind was because Mu Lianyi was in trouble. But in the face of such a hostile and rude woman, there was no need for any explanation. I'll take that as a yes. Mu Lianyi said. Then, she walked to a spot in the middle of the mountaintop and squatted down. She gently tapped the stone surface of the mountaintop with her fingers. After hitting it a few times, she laid down on the ground again. As she hit it, she pressed her ears to listen. It's right here, Mu Lianyi said. She then lifted up a stone slab, revealing a hole that was 2 feet wide. Yang Dingtian was surprised. He didn't expect there to be a secret entrance here. Come in, Mu Lianyi said and jumped into the cave. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment before jumping down as well. At this moment, Mu Lianyi had already lit up a match. Below was actually a stone room that was only a few dozen square meters in size. However, there was a stone bed, a stone table, and a stone stool. Who actually dug out a secret room here? Furthermore, this place was filled with hard rocks. It must have been a huge project to dig out such a secret room. I discovered this place when I was young. Other than me, no one else knew about it. Mu Lianyi said, therefore, I hid the fire immunity chilling pearl here. Mu Lianyi squatted down in front of the stone bed and gently tapped on it. Suddenly, a small crack appeared on the stone bed. Mu Lianyi pulled out a piece of rock and there was a small hole inside. She reached her hand in and took out a snow-white box. The fire immunity chilling pearl had to be placed in a special chilling box. Otherwise, the chilling energy would constantly leak out. When Mu Lianyi was about to open the box, Yang Dingtian's breathing became hurried, which caused Mu Lianyi to mock him. That's right. Yang Dingtian really cared about this fire immunity chilling pearl. Only with this fire immunity chilling pearl could he enter the fire cloud demonic cave and use the supreme grade earth fire to forge his soul sword. Otherwise, once he entered, he would immediately be killed by the 1,000-year-old demonic beasts guarding the cave. Even a grandmaster would not be able to escape. What day is it today? Yang Dingtian asked. Double calendar, January 10th, Mu Lianyi said. Yang Dingtian calculated in his heart. There were less than 20 days before the supreme grade earth fire in the fire cloud demonic cave would bloom. The supreme grade earth fire in the fire cloud demonic cave bloomed once every 10 years. Each time it bloomed, it would only bloom for 6 hours. Just like a night blooming epiphyllum, after 6 hours, the supreme grade earth fire would automatically extinguish and enter a dormant state. 10 years later, when it had accumulated enough energy, this top-grade earthly fire would bloom again. Once missed, one would have to wait for another 10 years. Therefore, supreme-grade earth fire was so precious, and soul swords were so rare. Every 10 years, the earth fire in the fire cloud demonic cave bloomed at noon on January 28th. This place was close to 10,000 miles away from the fire cloud demonic cave, and there was also a vast ocean between them. Therefore, Yang Dingtian was naturally anxious and was eager to obtain the fire immunity chilling pearl. The moment Mu Lianyi opened the box, Yang Dingtian held his breath, afraid that the fire immunity chilling pearl would disappear. When the box opened, a mysterious pearl lay inside. It seemed to be white, but it also seemed to be blue, and it also seemed to be colorless. It was incomparably beautiful, incomparably mysterious, and incomparably mysterious. That's right, this was the fire immunity chilling pearl. This was the fire immunity chilling pearl that was extremely important to Yang Dingtian. This is for you. This is to repay you for risking your life to save me in the arena. Mu Lianyi said solemnly. Then, she handed the fire immunity chilling pearl and the box to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian did not hesitate and reached out to take it. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, there was an evil laughter in the air. Then, a black figure entered the cave and appeared in the secret room. Sorry, this fire immunity chilling pearl does not belong to you. It belongs to me. The person's voice was very strange, like the cry of a crow. He was wearing a black robe and a malicious ghost mask. Only a pair of eyes were revealed, greedily staring at Mu Lianyi's fire immunity chilling pearl. The two were shocked. Yang Dingtian quickly pulled out his sharp sword while Mu Lianyi instinctively hid the fire immunity chilling pearl behind her back. She did not expect that when Yang Dingtian was about to obtain the fire immunity chilling pearl, someone would come to snatch it. Yang Dingtian took a step forward and stopped in front of Mu Lianyi. He asked coldly, "Who are you?" "I am West Mountain's crying ghost." "Have you heard of me?" The person screamed. Yang Dingtian had never heard of this person, but Mu Lianyi knew him. This person was the most famous bandit in the entire southwest continent. It was said that there was nothing he could not steal. "How did you know that we are here at the Ecstasy Cliff?" Mu Lianyi asked coldly. West Mountain's crying ghost let out a sharp laugh and said, "I am not as stupid as Tuobayi. He actually came to snatch the fire immunity chilling pearl and ended up losing an arm. I only need to keep an eye on the Mu clan's young lady. There will be a day when you will retrieve the fire immunity chilling pearl. Finally, I have waited for this day." Mu Lianyi's expression changed as she said, "You have been following me all the time." "That's right." West Mountain's crying ghost said, "But don't worry. When you were doing some private things, I only followed and did not peep. Even a bandit has his own principles. Furthermore, if I want to follow someone, the other party will never discover it. Alright, hand over the fire immunity chilling pearl obediently. This great one does not wish to hurt anyone. It would be bad if a delicate beauty like you was hurt." Yang Dingtian's brows lifted as he tightened his grip on his sword. Kid, don't think of making a move. I shall tell you the truth. Even if all of you are not injured, you are still not a match for me. I am at least more formidable than that kid, Tuobayi. Furthermore, I will not be as stupid as him to use mystic skills to fight with you. I will use martial skills and my sword. West Mountain's crying ghost let out a sharp laugh and said, if I were you, I will never make a move. Hand over the artifact pearl obediently and don't lose your life. Yang Dingtian said, this fire immunity chilling pearl is a cardinal treasure of heaven and earth, but it is only for those who need it. What use does Mr. have for this fire immunity chilling pearl? If you want to sell it for money, I can pay double the price. West Mountain's crying ghost said, cut the crap. Hand over the artifact pearl, and I will let you go. Don't even think about it. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Then you must be courting death. West Mountain's crying ghost's voice instantly turned cold. The sharp sword in his hand trembled as he thrust at Yang Dingtian. Ding! Yang Dingtian held his sword horizontally and blocked. Close combat. Instantly, an extremely crafty mystic chi penetrated the sword blade and entered his body. Yang Dingtian's body suddenly retreated over 10 meters and swallowed the blood that was about to spurt out. Instantly, half of his arm turned cold and numb. He couldn't feel anything and couldn't even hold his sword. That's right, this person's cultivation was much higher than Yang Dingtian's. Have you tasted my prowess? This is merely 50% of my mystic chi. West Mountain's crying ghost said coldly, I will count to 3. If you don't hand over the artifact pearl, I will not be merciful. I will let you die here and become a pair of fated corpses. 3, 2, 1. After the countdown, West Mountain's crying ghost's expression turned cold as he said, it seems like you are courting death. Truly, you want treasures more than your lives. Then, I shall grant your wish. After saying that, his sharp sword trembled. Suddenly, a powerful mystic chi burst out, and the entire stone room suddenly became cold. Whoosh! West Mountain's crying ghost's sword was incomparably fast and sharp. With a powerful mystic chi energy, it pierced towards Yang Dingtian's head like lightning. That's right, not the chest, but the head. The speed was extremely fast. It was the fastest among all of Yang Dingtian's opponents. It was impossible to dodge. Seeing that Yang Dingtian's head was about to be pierced, Yang Dingtian stood motionless and said coldly, you are not some West Mountain's crying ghost. The opponent's sword paused and laughed loudly, if I'm not West Mountain's crying ghost, then who am I? Stop acting, Wu Xinglia. Or, should I call you Wu Xingwen? Yang Dingtian said coldly. Ah! Suddenly, Mu Lianyi who was behind him cried out, impossible, it can't be him. Huh. That person laughed and said, kid, are you crazy? If you want to live, don't use this kind of trick. I am West Mountain's crying ghost, why should I pretend to be Wu Xinglia or Wu Xingwen? Yang Dingtian said, if you're not Wu Xinglia, then take off your mask. Do I have to take it off just because you want me to? Who do you think you are? That person sneered. I want you to take off your mask. Mu Lianyi said coldly. Swish. Suddenly, Mu Lianyi pressed something and the stone wall behind her suddenly opened. Behind her, there was a bottomless abyss. A terrifying cold energy was continuously emitted. Unexpectedly, the bottom of the stone room was empty. The giant stone mountain that was thousands of meters high was actually empty. Mu Lianyi extended the fire immunity chilling pearl box to the top of the abyss and said coldly, take off your mask, or I will throw this fire immunity chilling pearl down. Below is a bottomless abyss. There is poison and magma. Even if a top expert fell down, there would be nothing left. Once I let go, you can forget about getting the fire immunity chilling pearl. Don't throw it. That person quickly said. His breathing suddenly became rapid. He seemed to be hesitating and struggling. 2 minutes later, that person said, what if I don't want to take off my mask? Mu Lianyi's delicate body trembled. She said coldly, then you can forget about getting the fire immunity chilling pearl. I will count down from 3. 3. 2. 1. Mu Lianyi quickly counted down. Then, she loosened her fingers and the fire immunity chilling pearl box immediately fell down. Ah! That person cried out in alarm and was about to pounce over, but Yang Dingtian forcefully stopped him. Mu Lianyi was extremely fast. When the fire immunity chilling pearl box fell 2 feet, she quickly reached out and caught it. Take off your mask and let me see your face. Mu Lianyi said. That person held his breath and said coldly, you want to see my real face? Fine, I will let you see it. I hope you won't regret it. Then, he slowly took off his mask. Suddenly, Mu Lianyi felt that she almost couldn't breathe. She was afraid that Yang Dingtian was right. That person completely took off his mask. Ah! Mu Lianyi exclaimed. Because this was an extremely ugly face. It was so ugly that it would give people nightmares. His entire face seemed to be corroded by strong acid and then fried in a pot of oil. This wasn't a human face at all. It was like a ferocious ghost from the underground. See? Are you satisfied? Lonesome crying ghost hissed, little girl, hand over the fire immunity chilling pearl and you can live. I must kill this man. Stop acting. Wu Xinglie, or should I call you Wu Xingwen? Yang Dingtian said coldly. Before that person spoke, Mu Lianyi couldn't help but say angrily, he is not Xingwen. How long are you going to slander Xingwen? You have already seen his face. Why do you keep saying that he is Xingwen? What is your intention? Humph. Lonesome crying ghost also sneered, boy, you keep saying that I am Wu Xinglie. What proof do you have? Yang Dingtian said, just now, you said that you want to kill me and Mu Lianyi and let us be a pair of lovebirds. But lovebirds, you didn't finish your words and stopped. It is a very unnatural and harmonious phrase. Obviously, you don't want to say lovebirds because you are Wu Xinglie. You have a strong desire to possess Mu Lianyi, so you don't want to associate her with other men. Huh. Lonesome crying ghost sneered, what kind of bullshit proof is this? Yang Dingtian laughed, and, enough. Mu Lianyi interrupted Yang Dingtian and scolded, don't measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. Don't judge Wu Xingwen with your dark and despicable mentality. If you dare to slander Xingwen again, I will kill you, Yang Dingtian. Under incomparable anger, Yang Dingtian's name rushed out. Yang Dingtian. Lonesome weeping ghost cried out in surprise when he heard this name. His body trembled as he looked over at Yang Dingtian with lightning speed. But soon, he became nonchalant again and laughed, so you are not Yan Nantian, but Yang Dingtian. The famous Yang Dingtian. Xingwen, it is really you. Mu Lianyi suddenly let out a cry behind him. Her delicate body trembled and looked at that person in disbelief. Lonesome crying ghost sneered, little girl, are you crazy too? Saying something silly. Mu Lianyi's beautiful eyes were filled with tears and her beautiful face was incomparably disappointed. Stop acting, Xingwen. You are Wu Xingwen. Just now, when I accidentally shouted out Yang Dingtian's name, you were so shocked that you forgot to disguise your voice. I immediately knew it was you because this voice has appeared countless times in my dreams. Hee hee. That person sneered, you must have become stupid from your dreams. You mistook anyone's voice as your lover's. Tear off your ugly face, or I will immediately destroy this fire immunity chilling pearl. Mu Lianyi roared like an injured mother beast. She raised the fire immunity chilling pearl in her hand and was about to smash it down. No! That person exclaimed. Then, he suddenly gritted his teeth and tore off his face, revealing a handsome face. That's right, he was Wu Xingwen, also known as Wu Xinglie. Mu Lianyi instantly collapsed and despaired. It is really you, it is really you. Mu Lianyi's body trembled. She cried and said hysterically, why? Why? Why are you doing this to me? Then, Muliani took 2 steps back and stood at the edge of the endless abyss. Don't be agitated. Come over here, come over here. Wu Xinglia said and was about to rush over. Don't come over. If you come over, I will jump down. Muliani screamed, Wu Xingwen, I trust you completely. I am willing to give you anything. Why are you doing this to me? Tell me, tell me. Just for this fire immunity chilling pearl? Then I will destroy it, destroy it. Then, Muliani, who had lost her mind, was about to throw down the fire immunity chilling pearl. No! Wu Xinglia shouted, if you destroy it, our happiness will be over. Humph. Muliani said coldly, we are already finished. Now, tell me why you are doing this. Is a fire immunity chilling pearl worth you acting like a clown? Note, thank you all. Because I changed the chapter, but to maintain the original word count, I had to use this paragraph to fill in the gaps. Sorry, thank you all. Thus, I gave him a military order, saying that he would hand over the fire immunity chilling pearl's mission to me. If I can obtain the fire immunity chilling pearl and offer it to him, he will grant me my freedom and stop that widow from seizing me. He will allow me to marry you. If I don't get the fire immunity chilling pearl, then I will be torn apart by 5 horses. Muliani's delicate body suddenly trembled when she heard the words 5 horses will tear her body apart. Then why didn't you tell me? You clearly know that I am willing to give you anything. Why did you use such a method to obtain the fire immunity chilling pearl? Muliani asked. At this moment, her voice couldn't help but become gentle. Wu Xingwen laughed miserably and said, if you are a man, would you be willing to ask your beloved woman for a treasure in such a pathetic manner? I want to maintain the most glorious and dazzling image in front of you. I would rather die than appear so pathetic and ugly in front of you. Idiot, you're really an idiot. Muliani suddenly burst into tears. I love you as a person, not your status or your glory. I just want to live a happy and peaceful life. I like freedom, but I don't like glory. You should have told me directly. I would have given you the fire immunity chilling pearl without a second word. Wu Xingwen shook his head and said miserably, it's too late, too late. I have already revealed my ugly side in front of you. Everything is too late for me. I no longer have any hope. After speaking, Wu Xingwen picked up the sharp sword and slashed across his neck. No! Muliani cried out miserably and pounced towards Wu Xingwen. She snatched the sharp sword from his neck and didn't care that her hand was cut by the sword. Muliani, don't go over. Yang Dingtian shouted. I don't need you to care about me. Get lost. Muliani turned and shouted at Yang Dingtian. Then, she caressed Wu Xingwen's handsome face and said, Xingwen, it's not too late for us. I don't care about your past. I will give you the fire immunity chilling pearl. You can give it to that bullshit Qin clan's young master and let him give you freedom. Then, we will go to a place with no one and live happily together for the rest of our lives. Muliani said as she stuffed the fire immunity chilling pearl into Wu Xingwen's hand. Yang Dingtian, I am sorry. I changed my mind. I want to give the fire immunity chilling pearl to the man I have waited for 5 years. Muliani turned and faced Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian sighed and looked at the sky with a bitter smile. Wu Xingwen took the fire immunity chilling pearl and looked at Muliani with a complicated gaze. He then looked at the fire immunity chilling pearl and shook his head, Liani, it's too late. It's too late. Then, he slowly took the sharp sword from Muliani's hand. Muliani cried, it's not too late. It's not too late. As long as we love each other, it's not too late. Wu Xingwen said, you completely crippled Qin Xiaobai. Now, the entire Northwest Qin clan is looking for you. Whoever kills you and offers your head to the Qin clan lord can become the son-in-law of the Qin clan and marry the Qin clan lord's 4th daughter. How could I not go crazy? Mu Lianyi smiled bleakly and said, taking the Northwest Qin clan's fourth young lady is enough to make you so crazy? Of course. Wu Xingwen said, in terms of beauty, she isn't inferior to you. In terms of status, even though she is a concubine's daughter, she is 1,000 times more noble than you. Any man in the world would know how to choose. Of course, you are the forever throbbing in my heart. You are a memory that I can't erase. However, it's too late now. We have already shed all pretense of cordiality. I have already revealed my ugly face. Mu Lianyi smiled bleakly and said, yes, it's too late. Your ugliness makes me look so stupid. What are you going to do now? Wu Xingwen said, since we have shed all pretense of cordiality, I might as well be shameless to the end. I am going to kill Yang Dingtian and go to the Northwest Qin clan to receive the reward and marry the Qin clan's fourth young lady. As for you, you will be my concubine, or a servant. Your figure is very good. I have been coveting it for a long time. Mu Lianyi smiled in despair again and said, then, what if I don't agree? Wu Xingwen said, I will use your father's life to threaten you. Mu Lianyi laughed and spat out blood. She looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Yang Dingtian, young master, I am so stupid, so stupid. My eyes are blind, my eyes are blind. Young master, in my next life, I will be your servant to repay your kindness. In this life, please forgive my previous rudeness. After speaking, Mu Lianyi's palms struck her forehead. She was actually going to commit suicide. Bang! However, before her palms struck her forehead, Wu Xingwen's palms struck down and knocked Mu Lianyi unconscious. He then threw her to the side. Now, it's time to deal with you. Wu Xingwen lightly waved his sword and said to Yang Dingtian, I am a 5-star great mystic martial master. I will definitely not use any mystic skills. Furthermore, I will only stab your head. Do you think I can kill you in 3 moves? Yang Dingtian spread out his hands and said, of course I can. I have yet to recover from my injuries and I don't even have half of mystic chi left. If you want to kill me, 1 move is more than enough. Yang Dingtian wasn't lying at all. Wu Xingwen was too smart and ruthless. If he really wanted to kill Yang Dingtian, there really wouldn't be any possibility of failure. Then, let's begin. Wu Xingwen sneered, I allow you to make the first move and die a hero's death. Yang Dingtian held the sharp sword in his hand and said, there are 2 situations. If you take my head to receive the reward, it will be better. If you capture me alive and present me to the Qin family's lord, the reward will be better. Of course I'll capture you alive. Wu Xingwen said. Alright, then I'll surrender. Yang Dingtian then threw the sharp sword in his hand to the ground. Wu Xingwen couldn't help but be startled. He then laughed loudly and said, everyone says that Yang Dingtian is a great hero who is unafraid of death. Sure enough, seeing is believing. I didn't expect Yang Dingtian to be a coward who is afraid of death. Being alive is naturally better than being dead. Yang Dingtian laughed and said, furthermore, I want to make a deal with you. Oh. Wu Xingwen laughed again and said, with your current strength, what kind of deal can you make with me? If I didn't guess wrongly, you want to use this fire immunity chilling pearl to exchange for the evil soul art with Dugu Fengwu, right? Yang Dingtian said. So what if I do? Wu Xingwen laughed and said, but just because you know this secret, you will definitely die, Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian laughed and said, you are going to make a deal with Dugu Fengwu? Do you think you can succeed? There is a 100% chance that once you hand over the fire immunity chilling pearl, it will dismember you into pieces. In the Katkin manner, Dugu Fengwu killed hundreds of people in front of me and Dongfang Bingling. In the land of chaos, she slaughtered thousands of people just because her sister was bullied a little. Do you think such a demonic woman will make a deal with you properly? Once these words were out, Wu Xingwen's expression changed. Yang Dingtian's words weren't wrong at all. If Qin Huayu used the fire immunity chilling pearl to make a deal with Dugu Fengwu, it should be successful because Qin Huayu's cultivation wasn't too far away from Dugu Fengwu. But if Wu Xingwen went to make a deal, he would be courting death. So what? Wu Xingwen instantly laughed and said, "You reminded me. Then I will give the fire immunity chilling pearl to young Lord Qin and you to Lord. This way, I will marry the Qin clan's fourth young lady." "You are welcome." Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "But if you were to make a choice, would you choose the evil soul art? Between the evil soul art and being the son-in-law of the Qin clan, which would you choose?" Wu Xingwen's expression changed and laughed, "Nonsense, of course, I choose the evil soul art. The evil soul art is the supreme treasure manual of the world. With the evil soul art, I can become incomparably powerful. I can obtain any beauty or authority. But didn't you say that with my strength, it is impossible for me to make a deal with Dugu Fengwu for the evil soul art? It is impossible to make a deal with her." Yang Dingtian said indifferently, "But if you make a deal with me, you can obtain the evil soul art." Once these words were out, Wu Xingwen's expression changed drastically. Chapter 139. Ha ha ha. Wu Xingwen laughed out loud, "Who do you think you are? You have the evil soul art? Stop dreaming." Wu Xingwen's reaction was one of disbelief. Yang Dingtian was about to speak when the sound of galloping horse came from the foot of the mountain, along with loud shouts. Wu Xingwen's expression changed and he sent a palm strike towards the back of Yang Dingtian's head. Yang Dingtian had just recovered from his severe injuries, and his mystic qi had only recovered a little. When he saw Wu Xingwen's palm strike, he immediately retreated. However, he was still struck by a powerful mystic qi energy on his head. His vision turned black, and he immediately fainted. When Yang Dingtian woke up again, he was already in a dungeon. The entire dungeon was dark and damp. It was only 10 square meters in size and was surrounded by thick walls. The door was made of pure metal and was a few inches thick. N. Suddenly, a painful and confused voice came from the cell next door. Moreover, this voice was somewhat familiar. It was Mu Lianyi's voice. Yang Dingtian quickly stuck to the wall and hit it hard. "Mu Lianyi, is that you?" "Gotcha." A small window opened on the wall and a handsome face appeared. It was Wu Xinglia, or Wu Xingwen. "Yang Dingtian, you're finally awake. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Wu Xingwen said, "I was about to perform a good show for you." Wu Xingwen pointed at Mu Lianyi on the bed. Mu Lianyi's face was flushed red and her eyes were blurred. It was obvious that this beast had drugged Mu Lianyi. "You drugged her? What drug?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Yes, a very strong and powerful drug. It's enough to make anyone lose their mind and enough for me to do whatever I want." Wu Xingwen sneered. "You two were once in love. Why do you have to do this to her?" Yang Dingtian said angrily. Wu Xingwen sneered, "We've already shed all pretense of cordiality. Do you still have to pretend to be affectionate? Don't you think it's boring?" Then, he walked to Mu Lianyi's bed and stared at her beautiful face. "Back then, I was really stupid. I was too self-abased and stupid. After getting together with her, I didn't even dare to hold her hand. Otherwise, she would have been mine long ago." Wu Xingwen smiled. "Yang Dingtian, I'm sure you don't want Mu Lianyi to suffer such a terrible fate. Then just answer one question of mine. As long as you answer it, I will let Mu Lianyi go today." "What is it?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Where is Shimin Yanyan?" "Of course, I'm asking on behalf of the Qin clan's young master. You know that he has been coveting your wife for a long time." Wu Xingwen said, "I'm even drooling over her. Shimin Yanyan's beauty is well known even to me. Any man would dream of having a peerless beauty like her. You don't have the ability, so you don't deserve such a woman." Wu Xingwen said, "If you want me to believe that you have the evil soul art, the sun will rise from the west, the seawater will flow backwards, and I will become a gentleman again. I'm going to enjoy Mu Lianyi." "Shut up." Then, Wu Xingwen pounced towards Mu Lianyi. This is a soul tool ring. Li Tianxiao wore it before. You can see if it's real or not. After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, he took out the soul tool ring from his bosom. In reality, he took out the soul tool from his spatial ring. It was an incomparably evil and powerful soul tool ring. The moment the soul tool ring was taken out, the surrounding temperature instantly dropped by 12 degrees. It was as if there were countless ferocious ghosts howling in his ears. It was as if there were countless vengeful spirits crying. In an instant, this gloomy coldness completely melted the lust in Yang Dingtian's body. Wu Xingwen's expression immediately changed. He looked at the soul tool ring in Yang Dingtian's hand in disbelief. It was obvious that he also felt the mysteriousness and terror of this ring. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything and directly placed the soul tool ring on the small window sill. Take it. Wu Xingwen was stunned. His body trembled as he said, Are you really giving it to me? Of course. Yang Dingtian even turned his gaze away. Wu Xingwen was stunned for a few more minutes. Then, he quickly went forward and grabbed the soul tool ring in his hand. In an instant, his body suddenly trembled, his face became ghastly pale, and his pupils suddenly became dilated. It was obvious that he had already been attacked by the powerful puppet battle soul and countless vengeful spirits inside the soul tool. Without a doubt, this was a real soul tool ring. He could feel it with just a touch. Just having a soul tool isn't enough. You still need to learn the soul assimilating art and soul burst art. Yang Dingtian said, even if you have the fire immunity chilling pearl, I believe you don't dare to make a deal with Dugu Fengwu. She is very powerful. Evil ways, and she can crush you with just a finger. Therefore, you can only obediently hand the fire immunity chilling pearl to the Qin clan's young lord and take the pitiful reward. You really want the evil soul art, right? Even in your dreams, you want the evil soul art. Now, the opportunity is in front of you. Let's make a deal. Deal? What kind of deal? Wu Xingwen's soul was obviously hooked by the evil soul art and soul tool. The shrewdness and wisdom from before seemed to have disappeared. I don't want the evil soul art. I want the fire immunity chilling pearl. Yang Dingtian said, therefore, give me the fire immunity chilling pearl, and I will teach you the evil soul art. This is also the reason why I surrendered yesterday. I want to make a deal with you. Impossible. You are my prisoner. You don't have the right to talk about conditions. Wu Xingwen sneered and said, furthermore, why didn't you talk about a deal at the ecstasy cliff? Why are you talking about a deal now? Is there a trap here? This is because the evil soul art requires a powerful person to do the experiment. I need his soul spirit to be absorbed to prove that my evil soul art is real. But last night at the ecstasy cliff, there was only me and Mu Lianyi. I am afraid you will use Mu Lianyi for the experiment. Yang Dingtian said. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian said, give me the fire immunity chilling pearl now, and I will immediately teach you the evil soul art. Wu Xingwen sneered and said, aren't you afraid that after you teach me the evil soul art, I will still kill you? You will be in my hands anyway. There is such a danger, but I have no other choice. I have to take this risk. Yang Dingtian said slowly, furthermore, after obtaining the evil soul art, you will definitely not be willing to be the Northwest Qin clan's slave. We can definitely work together. Even though I have lost Cloud Heaven City, you know that I still have a powerful force in my hands. I control the entire Black Blood Cavalry. I also have a noble status. I can give you a lot of things. Instantly, Wu Xingwen's expression changed. It was obvious that he was tempted. I agree to the deal, but I can't give you the fire immunity chilling pearl now. Wu Xingwen said, I know that the evil soul art is split into the soul assimilating art and the soul burst art. You will teach me the soul assimilating art first. After proving that it is accurate, I will give you the fire immunity chilling pearl and you will teach me the soul burst art. Yang Dingtian went into silence. After a few minutes, he raised his head and said, deal. Go and capture someone with stronger martial arts and seal his Xian meridians. I will teach you the evil soul art. Try and see if you can refine a puppet battle soul. At this moment, Wu Xingwen's desire disappeared. He quickly ran out and said, "Wait for me. I will be down soon." Around 10 minutes later, Wu Xingwen dragged an expert from the blazing cavalry down. This blazing cavalry officer's Xian meridians were sealed and he couldn't move his body. However, his mind were very clear and his Xian qi cultivation wasn't damaged. Wu Xingwen dragged him down. This officer's eyes were filled with confusion and fear. "Now, listen carefully. I will teach you the evil soul art and also the Xian qi circulation route," Yang Dingtian said. "Alright, please." Wu Xingwen said, "You will teach me the evil soul art. We will be allies." Yang Dingtian closed his eyes and started to recite the evil soul art word by word. It was like the ravings of ghosts from the depths of hell. It was also like the roars of devils from the 9 heavens. It was like the terrifying echoes of the dark crevices. It was also like the release of the darkest corner of a person's heart. As Yang Dingtian recited the evil soul assimilating art word by word, the surrounding air became colder and colder. The surrounding light also became dimmer and dimmer. Finally, the entire prison was filled with the wails of countless malicious spirits. The dozens of candles seemed to be suppressed by ghosts. They became dimmer and dimmer. After a full 10 minutes, Yang Dingtian taught the first half of the most evil and complicated evil soul art to Wu Xingwen. "Have you memorized it?" Yang Dingtian asked. "I have," Wu Xingwen said. He was indeed a genius. He only needed one time to memorize it. Then give it a try. Try it on the officer whose Xian meridians are sealed. See if you can refine his puppet battle soul. Yang Dingtian said. "Yes," Wu Xingwen said. Then, he sat down cross-legged. He held the soul tool ring with both hands and began to use the soul assimilating art. He chanted a terrifying and evil incantation. Dark and terrifying Xian qi began to circulate in his body. Wu Xingwen's voice became louder and louder. A cold wind blew. The blazing cavalry expert who was poisoned and couldn't move slowly floated into the air. His eyes were filled with panic and fear. Instantly, a dark energy aura flew out from Wu Xingwen's body and drilled into the blazing cavalry expert's body. It was really like a ghost. This dark energy aura hooked onto the blazing cavalry expert's battle soul and extracted it bit by bit. Instantly, Yang Dingtian saw the strangest scene in history. Streaks of black aura and transparent ghost-like objects flew out from the soul armament ring. A few, a dozen, a few dozen, a few hundred. Hundreds of transparent green human-shaped ghosts floated around the blazing cavalry. They laughed sinisterly in the air and hissed loudly. Finally, all the ghosts pounced onto the blazing cavalry expert. Instantly, the ghosts twisted and stretched. Countless ghost claws grabbed onto the blazing cavalry expert's soul and tore it apart. This blazing cavalry officer fell into extreme fear and insanity. "Ah!" He tried his best to open his mouth but couldn't make any sound. His Xian meridians were sealed and he couldn't move at all. But at this moment, he was trembling crazily. So. Amidst the screams of the ghosts, countless ghost claws grabbed a white figure from the blazing cavalry expert's body. This was the puppet battle soul that left the blazing cavalry officer's body. After grabbing the puppet battle soul, these ghosts screamed proudly. Finally, these ghosts grabbed the puppet battle soul and tore it out from the blazing cavalry expert's body. They quickly drilled into the soul tool ring. This scene not only shocked Wu Xingwen, it also shocked Lan Ling. So terrifying, so mysterious, it really swallowed a person's soul. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go to Chidian.com to read. He revealed a strange smile and said, "But you don't have to try it on anyone else. Let's try it on you, Yang Dingtian." Yang Dingtian's expression changed, and he said, "What do you mean? I'll be a good person to the end. I'll use the soul burst art to kill you instantly." Wu Xingwen smiled. Yang Dingtian's body trembled, and he said, You're shameless. What good will this do for you? Between you and me, we can cooperate more than we disagree. I can give you a lot of things. That's right, we can cooperate more than we disagree. Wu Xingwen sneered, but you forgot one important thing. I don't want anyone in the world to know that I know the evil soul burst art. Now that you know, you must die. Yang Dingtian's body trembled, and he couldn't say a word. Then, Yang Dingtian, you can go in peace. I will continue to ravage Mu Liani. Furthermore, I will ravage her every day and every moment. Wu Xingwen sneered. He then held on to the soul tool ring and started to recite the chant while circulating his mystic qi. Pa, 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 the air began to explode. Peng peng peng, flames began to explode. Woo woo. Ao ao. Countless ghosts began to howl. So. Countless ghosts began to fly out of the ring, forming a huge strange energy array. Finally, a powerful puppet battle soul condensed on the energy array. Strange, malicious, ghost, who? Destroy, destroy, destroy. Die. Wu Xingwen roared one last time. All the puppet battle souls in the soul tool suddenly shot out, turning into an incomparably powerful resentful spirit energy, striking out like lightning. Ah! A strange howl was heard. This puppet battle soul drew a terrifying trajectory in the air, and suddenly turned back, rushing towards Wu Xingwen. Ah! A malicious ghost scream was heard. The puppet battle soul suddenly drilled into Wu Xingwen's brain. Peng, ah! Wu Xingwen let out a horrified scream. His eyes were filled with fear, shock, and incomparably complicated emotions as he looked at Yang Dingtian. He couldn't believe that Yang Dingtian would use this method to counterattack him. Of course, Wu Xingwen's expression only lasted for a moment. After a moment, all the consciousness, spirit, and willpower in Wu Xingwen's brain instantly vanished. His proud and sinister smile was still on his face, but it had already turned into despair and fear. If it was just the puppet battle soul of the blazing flame cavalry expert, it wouldn't be enough to destroy Wu Xingwen. However, there was still an extremely powerful puppet soul in the soul tool ring. It was so powerful that even if Wu Xingwen was 10 times stronger, he would still be instantly destroyed. That's right, Yang Dingtian had given him the soul tool and the soul assimilating art, allowing Wu Xingwen to see the power of the evil soul art. However, Yang Dingtian had made some slight changes to the soul burst art at the end. He had changed the target of the attack from the enemy to himself. Young master, I can't take it anymore. Just as he walked in, Mu Liani directly pounced on him. At this moment, the drug in her body had already reached its peak and had almost completely destroyed her rationality. Yang Dingtian naturally wouldn't take advantage of her. He directly pressed her down and quickly pierced all the blood vessels in her body to let her blood flow out and temporarily calm her down. Then, he gave her a cold pill to temporarily suppress the drug poison in her body. As expected, after taking the pill, Mu Liani's body gradually cooled down and then she fell into a deep sleep. Then, Yang Dingtian took off the armor and helmet of the Raging Flame cavalry officer and put it on himself. Then, he put on Mu Liani's clothes again and directly carried her on his shoulder without much concealment. Walk forward. Yang Dingtian ordered Wu Xingwen, who had turned into a walking corpse. Immediately, he instinctively walked forward. Yang Dingtian wore the officer's uniform and carried Mu Liani behind him. Just like this, Yang Dingtian swaggered out of the prison. It turned out that this was one of the castles of the Raging Flames castle, but it was now commandeered by Wu Xingwen. The Raging Flames castle was indeed in cahoots with the Northwest Qin family. Walking on the ground of the castle, the knights all saluted Wu Xingwen when they saw him. Wu Xingwen didn't care at all and continued walking outside. Yang Dingtian, who was wearing the military uniform, followed outside. Although there were people who were curious as to why their commander Wu Xingwen's expression was a little dull and strange, they didn't dare to ask. They just understood that he was tired after having sex with a woman. As for the officer carrying a woman behind him, there was even less of a need to explain. After walking out of the castle, Yang Dingtian called for a carriage and loaded Wu Xingwen and Mu Lianyi into it. Then, he drove the carriage and sped towards the Mu family docks. Note. Chapter 142. The next day, Mu Lianyi woke up. Yang Dingtian officially bid farewell to the father and daughter of the Mu clan and prepared to head to the Fire Cloud Devil Cave in the northwest continent to start forging the most important soul swords. At this moment, Mu Lianyi was like a completely different person. Her unruly face was filled with a rare gentleness as she sent Yang Dingtian out of the Mu clan docks alone. Mu Liancheng originally wanted to head north to find Shimen Lai, but he was stopped by Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian didn't want their peaceful life to be disrupted. The Black Blood cavalry that followed Shimen Lai definitely didn't have a fixed residence and wouldn't have any peace. Of course, this reason wasn't enough to convince Mu Liancheng. Yang Dingtian told him that the Mu clan docks had a greater contribution to Cloud Heaven City in the southwest continent. It could be an intelligence gathering point or a last resort. In short, Mu Liancheng was convinced. "Young lord, I wish to head north with you." Mu Lianyi suddenly said, "I am very useful and can do anything." Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "There is a difference between men and women. It is very inconvenient." Mu Lianyi clenched her teeth and said softly, "I am willing to be young lord's slave." Yang Dingtian was slightly startled. Just 2 days ago, Mu Lianyi was still saying that she wanted to be a free person and cut all ties with Cloud Heaven City. Now, she actually took the initiative to say that she wanted to be a slave. "You are so beautiful and moving. Furthermore, you have your own thoughts. It would be a waste to be a slave or a maid." Yang Dingtian smiled. Mu Lianyi instantly fell into silence. After a while, she said softly, "The freedom I am talking about includes the freedom to be young lord's slave." "Why? Is it to repay a debt of gratitude?" Yang Dingtian asked. Mu Lianyi shook her head and said, "I have already said that gratitude is gratitude and feelings are feelings. The reason why I am like this is because my heart was completely dead yesterday, but you revived it." Yang Dingtian went silent for a moment and said, "I have already said that you are a beautiful and sexy girl that can move any man's heart. But I have a wife, and I owe her a lot. I can't let her down." Mu Lianyi's face darkened. She raised her head and said softly, "I know. Wu Xingwen, how do you plan to deal with him?" Yang Dingtian still asked. Wu Xingwen, who had become a walking corpse, was currently locked up in the Mu clan docks. Yang Dingtian had given Mu Lianyi the authority to deal with him. After all, he was once her lover. Scratch his face so that no one can recognize him. Then, we'll keep him at home as if we're raising a fool. Mu Lianyi chuckled. "Actually, my feelings for him are really strange. It's just that he was different when we were young. I actually don't know much about him. It's really just wishful thinking. It's as if I'm looking for someone to entrust my feelings to." Yang Dingtian smiled, expressing his understanding, and then said, "After I leave, you and Uncle Mu should go to Wooden Sword Castle. Even though Wu Xingwen is just a sword slave and the Northwest Qin clan won't care about his life or death, we still have to be prepared." "Okay, I know," Mu Lianyi said. "You don't have to send me off. Go back, I'll be on my way." Yang Dingtian was about to mount his horse. "Wait, big brother Yan!" Suddenly, Mu Lianyi shouted. Then, she threw herself into Yang Dingtian's arms and hugged his waist. Her hands tightened slightly before letting go. "Goodbye, young master." "Goodbye." Then, Yang Dingtian mounted his horse and galloped towards the north. He traveled day and night without rest. After 5 days and 5 nights, Yang Dingtian had traveled more than 4,000 miles. He went from the southernmost part of the southwest continent to the northernmost part. The Fire Cloud Devil Cave was in the southeastern part of the northwest continent. Therefore, he still had to cross a few thousand miles of sea by boat. There were many boats docked at the seaside pier. Needless to say, these boats were all going to the northwest continent. Basically, he could just board any one of them. Yang Dingtian chose the biggest boat and boarded it. It would take about 3 days to cross the sea. He would arrive at the northwest continent on the 19th of January. There were still 7 days before the Fire Cloud Devil Cave would bloom. Along the way, he still needed to borrow the Fire Cloud Devil Hammer from the Divine Weapons Manor. Although time was tight, he still had time. After boarding the boat, Yang Dingtian spent a little more money and found a relatively good seat. At this moment, he looked ordinary and was reclusive. He didn't communicate with the people around him. This big boat carried a few hundred people, both men and women. Other than a considerable number of wandering martial artists, there was also a considerable number of wealthy people. Basically, all of them brought their families and some even brought their children. In general, there were more ordinary people on this boat. This was also the reason why Yang Dingtian chose to take this boat. The fewer martial artists there were, the less trouble there would be. The big boat was soon full. The boatman shouted and prepared to set sail. Wait a moment. All of a sudden, a cold and pleasant voice echoed from the shore. Yang Dingtian's heart instantly jumped. This voice was so familiar. Even though Yang Dingtian had only heard it once, he couldn't forget it. This voice was too special. It was aloof yet graceful. It was cold yet didn't lack the natural delicateness of a woman. Yang Dingtian heard this voice during the dark wedding in the Temple of Blood. The owner of the voice was the princess of the Temple of Blood, the #1 beauty of the evil ways, and the #1 genius of the evil ways, Dugu Fengwu. It couldn't be her, right? It mustn't be her. Because of Dugu Xiao, Dugu Fengwu thought that her chastity had been ruined by Yang Dingtian. Therefore, she was currently pursuing Yang Dingtian for thousands of miles. If she knew that Yang Dingtian was on the boat, then Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to keep his life. Immediately after, a figure quickly walked towards the big boat. It wasn't Dugu Fengwu's face. It was a man. He might be rather handsome, but he was completely different from Dugu Fengwu. Yang Dingtian immediately let out a breath of relief. After this handsome youth boarded the boat, he frowned slightly as though he despised the people on the boat. However, he wasn't in a hurry to enter his cabin. Instead, he took a closer look at the people on the boat as though he was trying to recognize someone. Soon enough, the charming youth passed by Yang Dingtian's side. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly jumped. That's right, it was her. It was Dugu Fengwu. She was disguised as a man and had concealed her unparalleled beauty. However, her unique fragrance wouldn't change. When he took a closer look at her footsteps, it was natural and unrestrained. It was indeed Dugu Fengwu's special trait. Her eyes were like lightning as she carefully looked at everyone's face, especially their eyes. Therefore, everyone who was looked at by her couldn't help but shrink back. Her eyes were truly piercing. She should really be looking for Yang Dingtian. She had really started a 10,000 miles pursuit. At this moment, the big boat started to move and sailed towards the north. At this moment, it was too late for Yang Dingtian to get off the boat even if he wanted to. He was destined to be on the same boat as the dangerous Dugu Fengwu. Right at this moment, Dugu Fengwu's eyes landed on Yang Dingtian's face. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly jumped, and he almost couldn't breathe. Fortunately, he was wearing a mask, and his eyes were tired and cold. It was hard to see through his disguise. Dugu Fengwu's eyes were fixed on Yang Dingtian's face. It was unknown if she smelled something familiar. Yang Dingtian instinctively felt that it was getting more and more dangerous. He couldn't lower his head to avoid her eyes anymore. Otherwise, she would really suspect him. Yang Dingtian simply threw caution to the wind. He lifted his head and glared at Dugu Fengwu. He spoke unhappily, "What are you looking at?" He was using the unique tone of the southwest continent. Dugu Fengwu looked for a moment before she finally shifted her eyes away. Yang Dingtian didn't dare to let out a breath of relief. He continued to stare at her because this was the only logical way. Finally, Dugu Fengwu finished looking at everyone. Yang Dingtian let out a breath of relief. A woman with unparalleled beauty like her was like a fairy. She would definitely be impatient to be together with so many people. She would definitely be in a single cabin. However, Yang Dingtian was quickly disappointed. Dugu Fengwu stayed in the main cabin and found the highest position to sit down. She was far away from everyone and stood out. However, her eyes were still locked onto everyone. Yang Dingtian's heart turned cold. This was really asking for his life. The voyage on the sea was a full 3 days and 3 nights. It was really asking for his life to be together with Dugu Fengwu, who wanted to kill him at every moment. Yang Dingtian found out from Wu Xingwen that Dugu Fengwu was also going to forge a soul sword. She was going to use the evil soul art to send out a trade order to the world to exchange for the fire immunity chilling pearl. 8 days later, the peak-grade earth fire would bloom in the Fire Cloud Devil Cave. Could Dugu Fengwu's destination be the Fire Cloud Devil Cave as well? If that was the case, it would be really troublesome. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was at his wit's end. He could only be vigilant at all times and not reveal any flaws. Nothing happened on the first day of the voyage. Apart from not eating anything on the ship and only drinking the water she brought, Dugu Fengwu didn't do anything out of the ordinary. The second day was also peaceful. Furthermore, her eyes weren't locked onto everyone like before. It was as though she was sure that Yang Dingtian wasn't on the ship. Yang Dingtian also relaxed a little and started to listen to the people around him. Did you know? Cloud Heaven City's Shiminju is going to have a marriage alliance with the Northwest Qin clan. He is going to marry the Northwest Qin clan's second young lady. A martial artist whispered. Yang Dingtian was startled. They were really starting to collude with each other. Although he was furious, he wasn't surprised. TSK, this matter isn't a secret anymore. Everyone knows about it. Another person knew. Then do you know what the Black Blood Cavalry is doing after they left Cloud Heaven City? Didn't they seek refuge with the Black Fong Valley? That martial artist asked. That is old history. They were chased out a long time ago. The Black Fong Valley's Valley Lord saw that Madame Shimin was as beautiful as a fairy and suggested some improper thoughts. This resulted in a huge conflict between the two sides, and they even fought for a few rounds. Another person said, now, the Black Blood Cavalry has broken up and is scattered throughout the Southwest and Southeast Sea region to be pirates. That's impossible, right? That martial artist said, the Black Blood Cavalry of Cloud Heaven City would become pirates? Yang Dingtian had some disdain in his heart. No matter what, the Black Blood Cavalry wouldn't degenerate to the point of being pirates. However, it was certain that they weren't doing well. Yang Dingtian's heart was instantly in pain, and he was burning with rage. Shiminju. There will be a day when I will dismember your corpse into thousands of pieces.